Hey everybody, welcome back to Two Guns, No Ammunition. Red Dead Redemption 2's out, guys.
Hooray!
Except for PC.
Aww.
The one biggest drawback to being part of the PC master race over all you fucking cretins is that sometimes I have to wait a little longer.
And it makes no sense at all because Xbox runs on Windows, an essentially barely modified version of Windows. So there should be zero effort required to make it available also for Windows, especially because they're so compatible. You can play Xbox games on your PC.
Rockstar, why? I want to play the game. I can't.
I think you're used to waiting, aren't you, Jake? You still haven't made your first friendship yet.
Oh! Get him a body bag!
I want friends. I want Red Dead Redemption. Fuck you guys.
My teacher once told me friends are a liability in a hostage situation.
Jeez.
What do you think of that?
I
true.
find it pathetic and accurate.
All right, there's your intro to this week. Thanks, Jake. That was good.
Oh boy.
Really,
Spicy.
I really like spreading it around, spreading the love, carry the weight. There's a song about that, right? I think it's called Carry the Weight. Okay. This is Big Billy. Let's see. Oh, shit. I had something good. It's gone. That's who me. Meow. Chris?
We replaced Chris with a cat.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Gary?
A cat named Gary.
I think depending on the day, the cat may make more content on the microphone.
Burn.
Ouch.
Well, that's what happens when you don't feed it for 3 days.
Can we have a solid hour review and the cat does it? It's just
That'll go over really well. Please continue.
There's a market for that, I'm sure.
somewhere.
Chris, why'd you settle on the cat?
All right.
Damn it.
I'm gonna hit the button. Your turn.
Okay, all right. I am Genevieve, and I am still sleepy despite having a million naps this weekend.
It shows.
I know. I look like a haggard bitch.
Shit. Hey, you said it, not me.
I'm Lisa, and I.
All right, that's enough.
Yep. Thank you. I'm Frank. I actually brought content again, as usual.
Frank,
Rely on
We're
me.
gonna jam your content up your butthole, boy.
It won't fit.
Ooh, got that much, huh?
All right.
You can take quite a bit. I'm Jake. I'm Jake, and I'm sad, as you remember from 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to start off. The big deal. There's probably a million big deals. Bill, why are you talking about this stuff? We're talking about Red Dead Redemption and how it isn't available yet to PC, and that doesn't make any damn sense. I think you got a little hands-on time with it, Frank?
Put about 8 to 10 hours of it.
Yeah, I heard it's got like 65 hours of main story content.
I would be surprised if that's it at the pace I'm at. That's
Insightful feedback.
I was really hoping you guys would
Why'd you have
talk.
to kill a cat right now?
Well, I don't
I
know.
knew exactly what was going on, and I waited.
God, you are a son of a bitch. All right, well, I hopefully you guys have some thoughts about this PC port issue because, well, you mentioned that we could talk about it.
Oh, well, I
wish-
used it as the opener. It's really all I had.
Oh.
I don't know why. There is no date for it announced.
Yeah, and
Last
I wish I had more feedback and more content other than saying, like, it doesn't make any sense, and I don't know why this is the way it is.
There must be a reason.
Isn't this usually a
Not
problem?
necessarily.
Well, here,
A lot
this
of games.
So sometimes, I mean, sometimes things will come out for PC first, sometimes for console first. You know, the best games, you know, one of the best things Bethesda has gotten right, as far as I recall, is just about every single one of their major IPs was simultaneously released on all platforms it was intended for.
So if you are correct. Often, if a game comes out for a console first, it will be delayed before it comes out for the PC because the systems aren't one-to-one. You can't just pick up a console game and play it on a PC. You have to make some changes, and it's called porting the game, right? So you port it to PC. I think what Frank was saying is that Xbox is basically a Windows computer.
Yeah.
So it's almost 1-to-1, if not 1-to-1. So
I
it's
mean,
like-
they're so similar that you can play. They have a thing on a Windows computer called Xbox on PC, where you can just play your Xbox games on your PC.
that I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
actually tremendous.
I haven't
That
used
is
it, but I'm
fucking
aware of it.
cool.
And one thing, like, this is something that I wonder about all the time.
Will you ever feel love?
Is Microsoft paying or asking some of the developers to delay the PC releases to try and get more PC players, more members of the PC master rate to go out and buy an Xbox console?
So I was
It won't get me, damn it.
I was just thinking that this sounds like one of those big, I don't want to say conspiracy theory, but like one of those big things. I'm like, I see a trend here. I know what they're up to. Big bad corporation. Be like, they're purposefully waiting so that you go out and you buy an Xbox and you stay in the Xbox environment. But usually when I do that, Frank comes in and he's like, actually, there's a really good reason that I learned in college because I educate myself. And I go, oh, okay.
It's not as fun.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, perhaps there is some sort of technical hurdle. Maybe there is still some touching up of the code that you have to do to get it to run on Xbox on PC, and the UI just makes
If
it.
it turns out to be because they're doing something like giving the PC, menus, right? Just something like where the PC users will have as much possible control over the various settings of the game as possible, which when it's missing on PC drives me bananas and is more common than you might think.
Right.
Like I want the gnat's ass details level of control without having to bring in a bunch of mods. Some games do it, others don't.
I will say, I think with the Xbox on PC, I'm pretty sure it's not actually running the game natively on your locally on the PC. I'm pretty sure it's still running it on your Xbox and then streaming it to your PC.
Oh, well,
But-
that's a lot less cool.
Yeah, but I might be wrong on that. I've never done it. I
Yeah.
will say that because my computer and my Xbox are in the same room. So why the fuck would I ever do
That
yeah.
leads me to wonder if they. I was going to ask if Xbox on PC is backwards compatible, because if we could start rocking like some Xbox original games on your PC, I mean, the whole world's your oyster then, right? It is strange. I can think of like a couple possibilities. It would make a lot of sense to me, especially after our discussion that we had about wanting to get individuals into your ecosystem, right? So if you're on a PC, you're probably in the Microsoft ecosystem. I mean, everybody that games pretty much games on a Windows machine. Apple machines can do it. It's just, I think it's a bit of a hassle most of the time. And then there's your enlightened individuals out there who are running some sort of Unix system like Linux or Ubuntu or something like that. Wait, some sort of Linux system like Ubuntu, sorry. And a lot of more games are being ported. It's just a different operating system. It looks a lot like Windows, but it's not. It's open source and it's free. But you're still not exactly in the Xbox ecosystem, and maybe that's what they want. Maybe it's exactly what Jake said. That little bit of delay, it adds, that exclusivity feel, right? Like it's like a console exclusive without that. And who would be your most at-risk purchasers in your console ecosystem anyway? Somebody who's like, I mean, I don't really care if it's PC or whatever, and if PC gets it and already, like at the same time, I'll just go over there so I can mod it and stuff, right? So maybe they're just guarding that zone a little bit.
Yeah.
But who in the room had played Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, me.
Okay.
I think
Nope.
everyone but the ladies.
Yeah, I want to do a playthrough with you two on our section called Two Guns and Two Drunk Girls.
It's not as fun as it sounds.
It's more fun.
It's really probably just going to be two guns and two sleepy girls.
Yeah, I'll probably just fall asleep.
Why am I getting shot at?
I know what I would do.
Why-
Anyway.
My real question is, why do you jump so goofy?
Oh my god! I think I told one time I was sitting down with Genevieve and I'm like play the intro to this game. It's like playing a goddamn movie. It's like a whole experience. And she gets into the intro. She's starting a new game and it's going through. And I'm like pouring out all these feelings this game made me feel. I'm really hyping it up. And she, instead of progressing through the beautifully done introduction at all, is jumping around, jumping along the invisible wall of the game, going, look at how you jump. And I was like,
It's ridiculous,
my fuck.
okay?
Yeah, he does jump weird. He doesn't like, he like lifts his legs up and sort of floats along if you're moving quick enough. But I was like, you know what? My frustration will be content gold. And then the two of them, I won't be able to do anything. But I did want to start with Red Dead Revolver, even though it's not like really connected. It's spiritual.
The names sound the same.
Well, I mean, it's cowboy themed. I think it's the same IP. But did you guys, anybody in the room play Red Dead Revolver?
No.
I did not.
I did. I played it all the way through.
Well, aren't you fucking special?
It's like, if I recall correctly, let me just rub my nose here. It's itching. Sorry.
Yeah.
Too much cocaine.
Not enough. Not enough.
Well, I would have
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Let me rub my nose while I just rub my entire face with my hand.
Yeah, that's a normal thing for him. He's a
It was wonderful.
How do you guys rub your nose?
Here's the thing. It was very well thought out. Okay, it's practiced. Okay, the fingertips on his forehead are used for support and for precision.
Yeah.
The heel of the palm is what's actually doing the rubbing.
Yep. Gotta use
So
all
he
that
can very
leverage.
finally adjust how much force and in what direction he is rubbing. It's well done, Bill. Good form.
It's an
Good form.
advanced move.
Good form. 10 out of 10.
Good
Advanced
form.
move.
That was martial art.
So, as I recall, it was almost like a Dynasty Warriors for cowboys. Like you just ran through a base and blasted people, and then you got to a boss at the end, and you then had to blast them. It was on the original Xbox. It was fun-ish. I played it, took a break, finally beat it. There was a multiplayer that was actually pretty cool. I can't imagine it's got anybody populating it now, but you just ran it. Pew, pew. It was like the old timey guns that like the recoil's just a hair too slow and the gun sounds sound like it's just terrible, But we should be able to get through that in I think 12 hours or something. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Everything downloaded good for you, Frank? It got on your system, no problems?
0 issues.
All right. We'll touch a little bit more on that after the break. Before we go into the thing that we've all been waiting with bated breath, which is the ladies double teaming a game or something.
Yep.
You got a new phone.
I did.
Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa did get a new phone.
Leisler.
You got the iPhone
Yeah, I got the XR.
XR.
The iPhone Professor.
Xer.
No, the Z. Yeah, Z, right?
Yeah.
The iPhone Z.
I got the iPhone XR yesterday. Very excited. For some background, I had the 6 before, not the 6S, the 6.
Very old phone.
And my screen.
Was it a failure?
Well, my screen had been shattered for about the past 2 months or so, so that was a problem also. But the screen hadn't fallen apart, however, and I think that it was because Apple can hear me when I talk near my phone. It started to slow down about a month ago when I decided I was going to get the new phone instead of replace the screen. So my GPS wouldn't work very well. I had Google Maps open and I was driving along and I took my turn. I looked to see what was happening next and I was still like at the light where I had already turned at like 5 minutes ago.
We all recall that the news broke that they were limiting the battery.
Oh, really?
Right? They're like to
Yeah.
prevent damage to your phone, but in practice, it just made your phone terrible.
Yeah.
Like they do that.
No, I know.
We called them. I guess they still fucking do it.
But it just started happening when I decided to get the new phone. So
Yeah, maybe that's confirmation.
They heard
bias.
me.
Or maybe they're
Coincidence?
listening.
I think not.
I had a very similar situation with my 6, and
It's not a nice
right
way to
around the
refer to
time
your
when I was like
ex-girlfriend.
done paying off my phone is when it started to fail on me.
Yep.
Doing the same thing, like the GPS stopped working like the same
Yeah.
exact way. Yeah.
It's a conspiracy.
It is.
One of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
So this one is a lot better.
Buy an apple.
So
Buy
it
an
looks
apple.
really nice. I know some people are bothered by the little mabobber at the top where it cuts
Bothered?
off this. What is it
Wait,
called?
what are you talking
You know
about?
what I'm talking about? Like on the screen,
No,
how at
I've
the
never
top
even
of it.
seen this phone.
There's
Look at it now.
kind
Use
of
your
like an
descriptive words for our
indentation.
audience.
I don't know what it's called
bezel.
though. The bezel. That's what they're calling
use your
it.
mouth
At the
words.
top at the top of the screen, because on the new iPhones it's a full screen. There's not the bottom part with the button anymore.
Okay.
At the top of it there's a little bezel that cuts into part of the top of the screen. I really don't care about it.
It's where the microphone or the speaker is, not the microphone.
They use the two little sides of it to have
And
your
the
little
front camera.
icons at the top. Yeah.
Everything important.
And the camera. But it looks really nice. It's a little bit bigger than my other phone was, so I'm still adjusting to it fitting in my hand and in my pocket. But it's really cool. I was worried. I'm going to tell you. So it was about a year ago that I finally accepted Touch ID, my fingerprint touch. And I was like, okay, fine, this is cool. And then I was like, oh, this Face ID is not cool. The Face ID is super cool. So
She argued with me for so long. It's like, Lisa, the Face ID is much better. Not only is it much more secure, it's much faster and
much faster.
more accurate and much better in terms of overall security and accessibility to your phone.
It's
and
great.
she resisted it.
What if I make
The
a
entire
Lisa
time.
map?
I just hold it to my face and it knows me. And it opens immediately. And then I just have to swipe up and my phone is open. And I don't have to. And then the best part is that when it doesn't work, like someone else is trying to open your phone, it like vibrates at you in an angry way.
So this is the kind of thing, although I intend to live forever, this is the kind of thing that makes me like realize that someday I must die.
What?
Like, I don't like this. I don't
This
like
is some
Therefore, you
existential dread.
Like, I don't like my
perish.
phone being like, I know your face, buddy. I'm like, you shouldn't know that, phone.
It is a little creepy. I'm
Coming
not going to
from
lie.
You want to make an artificial intelligent arm to play ping pong.
Yeah, but it won't recognize my damn face. I don't like
What have you got to hide, Bill?
my ugly face, okay? You
All right,
know?
so Bill's face is now our logo and mascot.
Yep.
All right, picture
I'm
this.
going to put decals
Bill's
on my
face.
car.
Picture this. Frank found
Bill's face.
deactivated in a basement in a secret government black site, right?
50 years in the future?
Whenever. He had a catastrophic meltdown,
Last week.
blasted neutrinos through the whole building, didn't destroy the infrastructure, but all organic life
Frank.
killed,
Not again.
Come on, buddy.
you know?
I
And
have that capability. Don't fucking mess with me.
yeah. So, you know, the government, all they know about it is they've got one of those Alexas, with the screen on it, and it's pointed towards a mirror, which is pointed towards another mirror, which is pointed towards Frank's phone. And right as Frank deactivated, he had his phone held up, and I call him, and my face comes up on his phone as I call, but he's dead. So the government Alexa sees in the mirror my face and recognizes it and goes, he's guilty. He was there. We saw your goddamn face.
So you just gave Frank the
Game
perfect way to frame
over.
you. That's
That
what I'm
is alarmingly specific of a delusion.
But possible. So I don't need
It's not as possible. It's but possible.
I don't need
Only with
all
Lou.
this capability. I don't want it. I want their database of my face to be a little deprecated, and they're like, that doesn't look like our records of Bill from 10 years ago when he got that traffic light violation.
I gotta say, your whole motorcycle shotgun samurai cadaver plan is far more likely.
Yeah. There's no way the government's getting me.
No, you
Because you work for the
self-destructed.
government.
He is the government.
My point is, I don't want to encourage this data collection of my damn face on my own phone. Okay? Especially after the Chinese put all those secret things in there.
Update.
In your face?
That story is hotly contested.
Ooh. So we're not sure if the Chinese actually put secret stuff in the...
There are theories that on both sides, so Tim Cook went on a media blitz.
Wait. Let's back it up. I don't remember if we talked about this last week, but give us a brief summary of what we're talking about for the listeners.
Bloomberg broke a story that there were modifications made to several motherboards and other pieces of hardware in servers throughout various public cloud computing services and other high-end servers and computing power data center type things, including, according to them, Amazon Web Services and sometimes our military hardware, like the command and control systems on our ships and submarines, and
the CAC systems,
the drone, the data centers that handle the information that our drones pick up. And they were made by a company called Supermicro Devices, which is based out of San Jose.
They're the ones that made your penis.
Yes.
No, that was Texas Instruments.
Extraordinarily proud of that one. And
I'm sure you have an ample penis. I don't know.
Basically, the Jake would know. The gist of it was the Bloomberg reported it was the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army, that commandeered a couple of subcontractors throughout China that made those specific parts for a subcontractor of. So it was several layers deep down the supply chain that put these in there. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, went on a media blitz to completely discredit this story and ask Bloomberg to issue a retraction saying that they were completely off base and have zero evidence of this happening at all.
This is Bloomberg, the business periodical, and not the former mayor, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Owned by Bloomberg Business, Bloomberg Business Week. All those are owned by Michael Bloomberg, and Bloomberg LP.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's his media and financial data conglomerate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they will not issue a retraction. They are standing firm that say they have good sources, which they have not released. And there are right now lots of people on both sides, one defending Apple, saying, theorizing kind of the conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy theory on both sides. I'll play out. On the defending Apple side, they're saying that Tim Cook leaked this information to a couple of different executives that he thought was leaking information to the media to find out who was leaking information to the media, right? So some people might not be aware, Apple is extremely guarded with as much corporate information as they can keep. They don't want product details, they don't want product announcements, they don't want anything released unless they release it. And some people think that Tim Cook leaked different ridiculous stories to different executives in order to confirm who is leaking information to the media. On the other side, supporting Bloomberg and not necessarily discrediting Apple or Amazon or anybody else, some other people think the conspiracy goes the other way, where the government is forcing the different tech companies to deny, because this is such a deeply embedded part of our data infrastructure right now, and it affects a lot of national security interests. So they don't want the public thinking that our military hardware is compromised. So they want the tech companies to go out there and say, no, this is not true. Absolutely not. This never happened. So there's conspiracy theories on both sides, essentially.
Ooh, wait, before we move on, because I'm sure Frank has more good information. What's everybody's gut reaction right now?
False flag, gay frogs,
What?
Trump.
Tremendous.
MAGA 2020.
I
Trump.
figured it was the Hondurans, or that. Who's the caravan of 10,000 people or something?
Well, that's coming up from
I think the
every
answer's Trump.
South
Genghis
American,
Khan?
Central American
Are we
country.
talking- yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to take us down before they come over here for a better life.
I just think the answer is just Trump. It's fine.
So what do you guys think about this? Which one do either one of those seem probable to you, or do you have a different hypothesis?
It sounds suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Very sneaky.
Well, if you had to think, if you had to guess, if you had to say which one's more likely in your mind, that Apple made false information to find out who their mole was, or the government is forcing Apple to say that it was fake to hide our exposure as a country.
I think it's the second one
Yeah?
more than anything. Not that I really believe that, but
If one of them was to be true, you think it'd be the second
I
one?
would think
more
it's
than-
I would go with the
I
second
think
one.
the more
think-
complicated government one sounds more likely.
I think George Soros and the Bilderbergs are making frogs gay.
well, that's just fact at this point, so we can move on from that, all right?
Well, you know,
National tragedy.
when you said the first hypothesis, I was like, definitely this other thing, and then it was the second hypothesis, and I went, uh-oh, I'm one of those people. Because I don't know, if I were, I think that the federal government, well, the government in general, I guess it doesn't have to be federal, has recovered from big exposures or leaks or anything for like the last 6 decades at least by just making everybody kind of confused, right? Like, you can't really get any traction on taking action if everybody's like, well, what? Like, I don't know. Did what? Oh well. And then you
What's
move
true?
on. Yeah. So, who knows? But all right, Frank, please continue with what you were doing.
Yeah, so I was basically saying, slight update, that people, that there's a lot, the tech people, right, that I have seen are 100% supportive of Apple and against Bloomberg. Okay. Imagine that, the tech people are against the finance people. But I'll be honest, I don't necessarily think that the government is forcing anybody to cover anything up. But the level of detail that Bloomberg reported is just way too much, for
Right.
it to be entirely made up. And it seems to me like there was definitely a major security breach. Like I said, I don't necessarily think the government is forcing it to cover up, but I can absolutely see why Apple would want to fiercely deny that it happened as the security conscious company of all of the major tech companies. I think the potential telling thing that made it actually happen is the radio silence on all of the other affected players' parts, except for Supermicro Devices, which is also denying that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Much like your penis.
Yeah.
Supermicro Devices, are they a Chinese company?
Yes.
All right. Well, you can't fucking listen to anything they say.
They are, well, I shouldn't say that. They are American-based. Their entire...
Please don't misinterpret my statement as saying Chinese people are untrustworthy. Please take it as, from people I've spoken to who have experience doing business with Chinese corporations, they lie right to your face. The companies do. They do whatever they want.
Yes.
And then you can look at the mounds of evidence of intellectual property theft and why people want to get in the Pacific Trade Agreement and shit like that. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. Supermicro Devices is U.S. based, U.S. exchange listed on the NASDAQ, but they are run by essentially Chinese nationals, right? Yeah, exactly. It's not. You're right. It's not that Chinese people are untrustworthy or anything like that. It's that the Chinese government absolutely is and has a hand in everything that any Chinese-related company does.
Oh yeah, that's one of the issues I think that a lot of companies run into. It's like there are existent over there patent laws and stuff, but if you're a foreign-based company and a Chinese company steals your product, the Chinese government will do nothing.
Yeah,
because they just want to make. They want to make everything. They want to make it. So they don't care over there. They're just like, all right, steal all you want if you're a Chinese company. Wouldn't it be simple enough to prove this by it? Somebody must have in their possession one of these affected devices.
That's what I'm really wondering. Now, supposedly the Bloomberg story said, so first of all of the supposed infiltration happened 3 to 4 years ago, right? And once this was found by an outside security consultant, they were able to track the sources back to a few specific factories, of subcontractors in China, and then they were able to find every motherboard that they manufactured from basically ever that was still in use, and then check every single one of them. So potentially no. If they did a thorough job, the outside security consultant I'm talking about, in identifying exactly which devices were affected, and they have good records of where each of those devices went to and which data centers they were in and where, they could pull every single one and get them all out and fix them.
I guess you would need records of every single tech company. Then you would need access to their actual data centers, which the government could get, I'm sure, under some sort of warrant.
Well, this was the companies themselves wanted to fix this. This wasn't the government forcing them to fix it. This was a security breach for these companies, so they went into their own records and said, oh, we got to fix this.
It baffled. It seems pretty far-fetched to me. Imagine me saying that. It seems pretty far-fetched to me that every company would have effective enough service records to have such a high level of confidence that they got everything, and that a recovery operation like that would operate independently of the government when it's like of national interest, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
companies lie to
I mean,
the
not
government all the time.
the majority of this stuff is not necessarily national interest, right? We're talking about Amazon Web Services, that's running, pick something, whatever business, Netflix. They use Amazon Web Services, right?
Yeah.
It's not really vital national interest that Amazon Web Services works well for Netflix.
Well, I mean, unfettered access to a data center like
Yes.
that. Even if you wanted to just make a zombie machine,
Yes.
right, and run data denial attacks, right? So you just
there's a lot of, when you have hardware access like that, like there's a lot of scary stuff that can be done without much effort.
What do you mean by a zombie?
So there's a common term in web in the internet called a botnet. So what somebody does is they'll send you a piece of malware or whatever to gain access to your computer authorized access, and then they use your computer as part of a network of machines to do some task, right? So they won't lock up your computer like ransomware so you can't access it. They won't burn your PC to the ground. They won't slow it down. All they do is they keep access to your machine so that they can send a command and your machine does some work for them. Mm-hmm. It is a zombie machine, right? It's part of their zombie machine army.
Okay.
You've caught the zombie virus or whatever the fuck it is.
Got the zombies.
Then, so
it develops arms to reach out at you.
This is you, Bill.
That's pretty good. That's really
Oh my
good. That's
goodness.
really good. So something that you might do with that is run a DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service, by having literally tens or hundreds of thousands of infected machines all send queries to the same service at the same time. And this is like one of the most common forms of attack. We see it all the time on different websites, YouTube and Wikipedia and shit like that. Basically, you've got a server, or a series of servers, a series of computers that a website owns and runs their services with. So it's like, we've got all this content. If you want some of this content, you send a request to our server reads it, says, all right, this is what you want, fetches it, and sends it back to you. It can handle 100 million requests a second, just some number. Well, if you get 100,000 machines and you send it, 10,000 requests per machine per minute, you overwhelm it, and it will service as much as it can, but you get to the point where most people cannot get through, right? So nobody can actually get the service because of all these fake requests for service exceeding the ability of the server to interact with it.
So you mean like streaming services?
No. Anything.
Well, okay. That as an example, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So let's you could think of it that way. If everybody wanted to watch, Nicolas Cage's, what's a good one? Now we'll go to
Treasure.
what's that?
National Treasure.
Yeah. We'll say everybody wants to watch that Super Flame movie, National Treasure. Probably can handle a lot of requests because that movie is in fact so flame. We'll say it can stream. We'll just say a small number, 100 requests at a time. Well, if you have 1,000 requests, 100 of them might get service, but 900 of them are not, and it's always busy, right? So then in effect nobody would be able to see the video. So that's a DDoS. That's how you would use a botnet to do it, so that you have a number of different locations actually sending it instead of from, one machine simulating it, and they could go, oh, they're all coming from Tallahassee. Just block all traffic from Tallahassee for a while, and that can stop the attack, right? But if you have machines all over the internet, it's literally coming from all over the world, and what are you going to do? Block the world, and then the same effect happens. You're denying service.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty nuts to think about that level of infiltration could happen and go unnoticed for a relatively long period of time, considering, and can be that deep and that embedded across all of our seemingly secure network infrastructure in this country.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, if anything comes out of it. I think the more this slides under the radar, the more that the more likely it is that it actually happened. And somebody's trying to everybody's just trying to draw attention away from it, because if it didn't happen, it's in Microsoft, or not, yes, Microsoft, because they were also affected. It's in all of the tech companies' interest to let everybody know that it did not happen, right? Because if anybody who's heard that story and believes that it's even possibly true now has a tarnished idea of what those companies are capable of from a security standpoint.
Right.
So it's in their interest to make people think it didn't happen and to be as loud as possible about that.
Right.
If they go quiet, if they do their initial blitz to try and discredit it and then go away, I think that's kind of a something that says, yeah, it might have actually happened.
Well, if everybody didn't say anything, we'd all be like, all right, this definitely happened. But one company comes out, fights it. We're all a little unsure now. Eventually it'll fade away and we'll think about something else.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, if we recall, I think earlier in his term, Don Tron burned an Israeli asset because they knew something about, we had some information about somebody in Syria or Libya or whatever, and apparently he told a Russian ambassador, he mentioned it. I don't know, Google it. I don't want to tell tales outside of school here. But this sounds to me like the way you would try to cover up the burning of an asset. You're like, all right, yeah, a security contractor found it. But at some point in the process of investigation, maybe we have information that just the knowledge of it would indicate to a foreign government how we got it, right? And we don't want them to be like, oh, they have personnel inside of our X building. They can sniff X traffic on our networks. So they make everybody confused so that maybe they don't lose that asset over there. If you remember, there was a time under Barry O where he basically, I think he was talking about the Russian infrastructure. He's like, if Russia makes moves on us, we can just turn them off. He alluded to this idea that he alluded to this idea that we have infiltrated so much of their grid systems that if they were to make moves on us, we would just turn around and turn them off too. Right. We could and that's one of the big things that the United States worries about. We have such old, especially our electric grid. It's old. It's, if you recall years ago, was it 2011? When did New York lose power for days?
Wasn't that 2010?
Yeah. New York turned off because one part of the grid started to fail, the electric grid, and then everything else was better cool it for days.
No, that was 03. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, okay.
I was in high school when that happened.
Blackout of 1977. No, 2003. There it is. So, this just underscored that our grid is really big, really old, really interconnected, and therefore very vulnerable. And if it existed in an isolated way with nothing but pneumatic tubes and switches to be thrown by hand, it would have some level of safety, because the only truly secure machine like PC is one that is turned off, not connected to power, in an impregnable safe in a hidden room somewhere far away. Right? That's the only safe machine. We have systems connected to the internet for monitoring and some levels of control that if a state level actor, like specifically a well-funded, well-trained, determined group or individual or whatever, wanted to attack our grid, all they would have to do is focus on a target. It would probably be trivially easy to get in. Here's an example. Windows XP is no longer supported by Windows with security updates. They said, update your shit, we're done. A lot of ATMs still running Windows XP, right?
Lovely.
So a lot of these grid systems may be running an older version of Windows or whatever that's no longer supported, has known security issues that are not being patched by Microsoft anymore. So all you have to do is exploit something like that and you're in. Then you get one portion of the whole system to fail and the rest of it collapses.
It's like Christmas lights.
Yeah.
God.
So that's sort of what I meant by like a national security interest in these private corporations having these vulnerabilities. I don't know how resilient our internet network is. I know that our internet has gone down at work and we look it up and it's like the whole East Coast is having connection problems to 35 different websites or whatever, or all of Comcast. So I think that they're at some level pretty majorly independent. And if I was the government, I'd be like, all right, we're going to make sure you guys get this shit figured out. And the issue, if somebody, Frank, you might be able to explain it better to me. The issue about like the hardware vulnerability as opposed to software. Software, I mean, you can detect software most of the time. You can maybe shut it out with software. You can remove it if you do an entire system wipe. A hardware backdoor will exist no matter what, right? Like you have to get new hardware in order for that vulnerability to go away. And I think the ability to detect hardware backdoors like access, secret access, is tremendously higher, right? Because the whole system can be built to run around it and not know about it. It's nuts. So it was a big deal. It's a big deal if it's true. So
yeah, it's almost like the difference between, trying to rob a bank by drilling a hole underneath to come up from the floor.
Yeah.
You can protect against that fairly easy in like off the top of my head in 30 seconds to protect against that. You can have an infrared system that detects anybody coming up from the floor and also make the floor like really thick metal.
Right.
So it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The hardware aspect is almost like having a teleportation system that goes directly inside of the bank.
Right. That you don't know about.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody coming in the front to rob the bank versus a secret door in the back that looks like the wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you might be able to find it, but it's fucking tough.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did we roll along to this?
I don't know. You asked about
I
something.
talked about Face ID when I was doing my XR review,
There it is,
and
there it
Bill
is.
got all upset because his face was going to be scanned, and then Frank was going to kill him.
Yeah, well now, I mean, what if the Chinese government gets a hold of my face and they print out masks
And they put it
everybody
on
wears
Nicolas
it and then
Cage's face.
oh my
Oh
god.
my god!
Man.
And then you have to wear Nick Cage's face. the rest
No,
of your life.
I wear John Travolta's face
Oh
and
my
have sex
God.
with his wife.
Yes.
Is that how it goes?
But then
Yes.
really,
Yes.
Really, it's Nicolas Cage's wife, and we live
She-
together as
and
husband and
you're
wife.
actually-
They should have cast that movie exactly the opposite way, so that Nicolas Cage could be crazy Nicolas Cage as the villain, but they didn't do that.
No, but it was fun to watch. John T. try to be Nicolas Cage.
It was.
Apparently, they hate each other or
Yeah.
hated each other, so the whole time they were just fucking on each other, like pretending to be the other person as obnoxiously as
How
possible.
could those guys hate each other?
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if that was Red Letter Media who
Did
told
maybe
me.
John make a pass at Nick and Nick was really uncomfortable or something?
Could be. Could be.
I don't know. I say that sort of. I've read some stories about John.
Face Off, if you guys don't know.
Face Off. So, Lisa, please continue.
Face.
Yeah. So I know Frank has already talked about his phone apparently on here. I don't know if I was here for that episode, but I just wanted to touch on some things that I find annoying about the phone. Namely, the fact that it doesn't have that home button anymore. So if you move the phone or like even just look at it without trying to turn it on, the screen will just turn on. And I don't like that. Like if I move it or I touch the screen,
'Cause
the
it's
screen will
recognizing
turn
your face.
on. I'm like, excuse me, I'm not trying to open my phone. I'm trying to pick it up. I mean, the Face ID works really, really well. Like, it's really quick. And aside from having something in front of my face blocking it, really, it's not hard to use the Face ID. Some of the menus stranged, which I wasn't aware of, so I was getting really confused trying to find the little like Wi-Fi button thing. I was like, where'd that go? And there's no home button to like close your apps. I'd like swipe up or hold the button or do some other shit. Aside from that, I do like the screen time thing where it tells you how long you were looking at your screen every week, like per day, how many hours and minutes, and it will tell you what kind of apps you were using. So I'm a little terrified to find out how much I'm on Reddit on my phone all the time because it's a lot.
As a benchmark, last week was at
How to talk
2
slow
hours and
school? What's
18
going on
minutes
here?
per day,
Wow.
which I feel like is pretty low.
Oh,
And
is that, well,
I pick up my phone about 113 times per day.
that's insane.
Is that your estimation or your phone's
That's my phone telling me exactly how many. A lot of those are fake because I tend to move my phone on my desk a lot, and I think when it turns on, it counts that as a pickup.
See, that's what I mean. Isn't that annoying?
Yeah.
When you touch the phone, it just turns on. I'm like, I didn't want you to open up. Don't
Yeah.
open up.
So
Don't
like
do
a
it.
lot, because I have a lot to do at work across various different things, and I tend to like put my phone down on my desk, and then I'll need to like write something down quick, so I'll move it, and then I'll like do something else, and I'll need to put something there, so I'll pick my phone back up and I'll move it across my desk, and I think it's counting those as pickups. But regardless, like I really like that feature as well because it's helping me control how much I'm addicted to my phone.
Agreed.
And I want to limit that, right? I'm trying to bring those numbers down all the time.
I couldn't find my phone the other morning. It was in my blankets. And I did pick up my blankets and shake them, and nothing came out. So I just went.
Including poop.
Yes. Usually
there was no
is.
poop.
This time.
This time.
There is no poop.
So you can, I don't know if you guys know this, if you log into your Google profile on a computer, you can Google in the search bar, where is my phone? It will tell you within 30 meters where your phone is. So if it's in your house, it will tell you then. You can have it ring at full volume for 5 minutes to find it.
That's really cool.
It's really useful. There's like the Where's My Phone Droid app, which I never downloaded. Where's My Droid? Google just now has this feature, and it also lets you, I think, recover it. Basically, I think you can wipe your drive remotely.
Is that for any kind of phone, or is that just...
I think any kind of Google phone.
Okay,
If
so
you've
it has
got a
to be
Google
like a Google
profile on
phone.
there.
Oh, so if...
It's a droid, right? When I say Google phone, I mean like a droid.
Okay, so not the iPhone.
Yeah, there is
what
a
I'm
Google
saying.
phone out there.
If you go to iCloud.com, you can go to the Find My iPhone app there, and you could do it from there too.
Oh, it'll do the ring thing too?
Yeah.
I didn't know it did that. I knew you could do the Find My iPhone.
Yeah,
thing.
you can do a ring.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But
Just
I forgot it at home and, lost it. I don't know. And there were 3 times throughout the day where I was like, I really like looking for my phone. I'm like, oh shit, it's not here. And it was weird because I didn't realize, like, I knew I checked it a lot to see if anybody's contacting me. But I didn't realize
one
like,
is.
I have some really strong compulsions. I'm like, oh, I need to read my phone right now. You know what I mean?
right now.
And even like driving to work, I'm like, oh, I should put on a song on my phone. I don't have my phone. That's good. So I'm really about this. I like the idea of leaving my phone somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I sort of want to get a second line, just like emergency phone, because I call the police like pretty frequently.
Yes, common thing.
What,
to
you just
say.
call them to talk about? To
Hey,
talk to them?
Bill again.
Talk about your feelings.
Well, no, okay, so
Hopes and
we're all
dreams.
familiar with the bystander effect, right? You see something happening, an event occurring that requires intervention. If the larger the crowd, the more likely it is people go, someone else will get it. And
Right.
then nobody does. So I was driving up 202 the other day, and there was a porta potty in the left lane.
Nice.
So I called the police. That's what I just call them. I'm like, what else? You know, I was driving up the mountains to hunt. I saw a Toyota Prius in the middle of the grass with its lights on, clearly down a hill that a Prius cannot get back up in the middle of a snowstorm. I called it in. Even though the guy's lights were on, he might have called. The dispatcher was very surprised to hear about this. So I just call all the time because you never know, right? I mean, what are some of the other times? Somebody smashed a window of a business when I was walking home from the bar one night. I think it was this guy that was punching cars as I walked by because he was,
Well, that's a solid reason.
Yeah. What else? Somebody was throwing full beer bottles off of the 9th floor of an apartment building.
Bottle kids.
As people were and I was like, that can kill people. That kind of shit. So
You weren't into that. I never see shit like that. The last time that I reported anything was, I think I was with Lisa actually, and we were in Center City, and we were walking by a 7-Eleven, and there was this homeless dude that was, I don't know, giving shit to the owner, one of the cashiers or something like that, at the door. He was in there for a while, I guess, and obviously he wasn't buying anything. He was just trying to bum money off people to buy whatever, and they kicked him out, and he was trying to get back in, and they wouldn't let him back in, and they were at the door, and the guy was kind of getting a little pushy. So there was literally, I mean, it's Center City, Philly. It was at 17th and Chestnut or something like that. So there was a cop car pulling up to the intersection. I just walked up to the car. The cops had their windows down. I was like, yo, you guys might want to go check this 7-Eleven up around the corner. There's a homeless dude trying to beat people in there. And they're just very pissed that they had to do something.
God
but
damn it, it's Jake again.
Why'd you roll the window down?
We were going somewhere a few years ago.
we were northbound on 202 coming through Westchester. I remember. Right at the bend coming out of town.
Yeah, it was Route 3, whatever.
Oh, sorry.
But we were going. There was this weird area where this interchange where two one-way roads, one into town and one out, have to kind of do a goofy crisscross thing to then become 2 lanes once you're outside of the center of town. And the one that the one half of the crew, we were heading toward town. This dude was coming out of town, and they have like an underpass they go under, and then it's a fairly steep right bank coming uphill. And this dude in some kind of classic car. Well, I was driving, I think. Yeah, and this dude comes up in this classic car, threading between 2 other people, one in each lane, grabs the diagonal between them, and spins out, comes over. There's a low median, dividing the 2 directions, and both directions are 2 lanes. I'm in the left lane, heading towards this. He crosses into my lane with the ass end of his car, keeps spiraling back to his side and into someone's lawn. And we were like, what?
I only remember the lawn part, but yeah.
I remember it vividly because I was calculating if I had to dodge it.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
I just pumped the brakes and it just happened in front of me, and he was out of my way almost as quickly, but our way.
ya.
But then we pulled over because right at that when our thing first becomes one way, there's a little pull off, and we pulled off, and I believe you called it in.
Yeah.
And he just took off, and apparently he called it in himself after he got home or something, and they were gonna ding him with fleeing the scene or some crap because he did.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he slid across somebody's lawn, so he did property damage, and I was like, that's not cool. And then it's not like a big lawn, like a field where you could be like, ugh. It was like somebody's fucking.
he might have hid like some kind of kid's toy
Not
or
the
a
lawn
mailbox.
gnome.
I think he took out the street sign too. He took out.
He might have
sign.
taken a small sign.
Actually, he went into the house and
Yeah, he killed
took out the
everybody.
living room.
Yeah, there were no survivors except for us. So
He
we
sunk
called
the
it
Titanic.
in. Yeah. We were there.
Oh my
Saw
god, the most recent one, that I recall that really gets me fired up is I travel pretty far for work. I drive 45 miles one way, which is why I run into so much of this shit. I'm just on the road. In this motherfucker, I had a green light, 2 lanes going northbound on 202, and this guy coming out of Crozier Medical Center just says, yeah, I'm gonna go. So he comes from my right, my 3 o'clock, and he just pulls across the intersection. And he doesn't make a right-hand turn into the nearest lane. He makes a right-hand turn into my lane, just pulls right in front of me with this Land Rover. And I'm like, what the so I hit the brakes and I swerve, and I end up kaboom hitting this curb because it was the only way I could avoid. I wasn't going very fast, right? I was there was some traffic, so I was doing 35. and he still put me into a curve. But fortunately, it was a banked curve, so my little car like got up on it and didn't totally fuck everything. And I called it in. I'm like, I don't know if this guy is older than fuck or if he's drunk, but he's driving like he's wasted. And I'm like on the phone with the police, and they're like, all right, well,
Calm down there, honey.
we'll let the officers in the area know. We'll try to catch him driving like that. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, I wish they'd just been like, follow him. We'll get there. You know, I'm like, all right. Call in to work. I'd be like, I'm going to be late. We're doing justice.
Bill is secretly,
I've been deputized.
I was going to say, Bill's secretly hoping he's going to be deputized one day, and they'll be like, go get him. You'll be like, I got this.
Yeah, so like he's like all over he's like going in the opposite lane, he's going in the right lane, and like I'm heated. I'm like, this motherfucker is gonna kill somebody, right? And everybody else around him is just kind of reacting. Like, oh, I'll just hit the brakes to let this guy.
They're like, oh, he does it all the time.
Well, that is what you're not supposed to fucking play, counter asshole.
No.
Because that just makes it more dangerous.
But what I mean is like I can see everybody around, right? Like I am like visibly angry because he's taking people's lives into his own fucked up hands by throwing his giant.
I'm sorry, Bill. It's
Later
not
over
polite to take.
Listen, he was in a chemical
offense.
fire. All right, don't
It's my
critique his
strong
hands.
hand.
But these other people in these other vehicles are like, oops, I'll just drive on the shoulder now, no problem. Okay, he's passed. I'll just get on. I'm like,
You should have
nobody.
all just rammed him at the
Nobody
same
is reacting in an emotional way. And
time.
What we need are blue turtle shells.
Yes.
IRL.
Yep.
So I'm going to get to the big punch here. He goes away, nothing happens. Weeks later, somebody's driving like they're drunk again. And who the fuck is it? This same guy, because I recognize his
way.
goddamn license plate, because his license plate is like 150115. So this time I
It wasn't
taped
herd
him.
lurker.
You just doxed him.
That's not a real number. So I taped him this time, which was tough because I just had my cell phone. So I broke some laws, but I was like, I'm not the worst driver.
You're breaking the least bad laws.
Yeah,
So it
fucking
cancels
guy.
out.
And then I didn't see him anymore. I don't know if I started going to work later, or perhaps he was arrested, or his family took his license away, or he stopped doing whatever drugs he was on, or he died. Whichever one it is, I don't think he's a risk anymore, and I'm pleased. But he was like coming out of the doctor's and driving into Westchester, fucked up at 9 a.m.
Well, dude, he just respawned. He had to get back to his safe house so he could rekit.
I don't know what's happening over here. I'm sorry. Things are falling around me.
Could you try not destroying my room?
No, it's like my secret goal every time we're
You
here.
guys
So how did we get there?
spill some
calling
more
the
beer?
police.
Yeah, because you wanted a
Police,
second
yeah.
line, a second cell phone line, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
you want to get a second phone line just for calling the police?
Yeah, and not have so that I don't have to worry about like being disciplined with my phone usage.
You want a burner to call the police.
No, well, I mean, if you're like,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
you can't be.
That would achieve the goal.
You can't have a plan to be responsive to situations that require attention and not have a phone, right? So like I've pulled over and helped people change their tires. I've reported accidents, that kind of stuff. Like you can't pull over to the side of the road and ask somebody if they need assistance and then not have a phone, because if they're injured, if like they need serious help, if they're crazy and you need to like get out of there, like, you know what I mean? You got to have the way to contact emergency services.
Well, do you know smoke signals?
No. I don't want to.
Neither do emergency services.
I don't want to appropriate that culture.
Okay.
So, any other complaints about the phone?
Just
I mean, I did get it just yesterday, so there's not too much else.
Oh, you just got it yesterday?
I did just get it yesterday
Okay.
from Best Buy.
When'd you get it?
Yesterday.
Okay.
100%. That phone is feeding the data to those Chinese infiltrated servers and creating a catalog of everybody's jerking off faces when they're looking at porno on their phone. 100%.
Oh, I just send that to them. They can have it.
First of all, yeah, I
Jump ahead of
make
that
sure
one.
to email all of China my bank
all of China.
Everyone at China.com.
At hotmail.com. There is, before we get off topic again. Oh my God. There is one thing I did want to talk about this phone that I just discovered yesterday
I'm making
after
that
I got
email.
it. Not before I got it. The Measure app. It uses your camera, and you can just click it and pick a point and move the camera, and it will tell you the distance. Just like that. I was measuring Frank's face yesterday. I was measuring the wall. Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry.
It's the worst game.
It was so exciting.
Lisa, I'm sorry for two reasons. One, that you're so excited about that, and two, that's already been done for Android.
It was so exciting.
Android
My old
did it.
phone didn't have it, so this was a
Android
big
did it.
upgrade for me. Don't measure me, Chris.
Like 10 years ago. I'm just
Don't measure me.
I would like
Don't
to
measure
point
me,
out-
bro.
Yeah.
She's worried about finding out actually the length of her fingers.
Is this so
Full
that
data.
you can measure unwanted dick pics and be like, bro, we know you're not.
That
7
when they
inches."
first released it, that's what everyone was saying. It's like girls
when
are
did
going
this come
crazy
out?
over this app because they can measure guys' dicks.
Wait, when did this come out? This was news to me. This was the first time I'd ever found out that
I just found out
technology
about it now.
existed, and now I have it on my phone, and I can measure anything that I want to at any time.
It was some
Anyway.
type of third-party app, but Android came out with it.
Okay, I'm going to be real with you. In my head, I was like, what would you actually use this for? And my brain said, measure a dozen eggs.
To find what the
No,
golden
to
egg
count a dozen
size.
eggs. I would
Count them.
Yep, I would measure
Then make
as
a
in
clicker app.
quantify. It would look it would look at the container of eggs and go, yes, that's a dozen eggs. That's what my brain
wait,
said.
say
would
that
use.
to you.
Wait,
Like
it can do
that.
that too?
I don't know.
It can count?
I don't
Oh
know.
my God.
Wait, can it count things, or does it just measure things, like lengthwise?
Well, it depends on
Oh,
the
hold
app.
on.
Okay.
Update.
Radio silence is Lisa.
No, okay,
Hold this down.
someone else can start talking.
Lisa's gonna
but I-
measure some eggs here.
You know,
Go to the,
Oh,
let's go to
there's
the
a
dairy
level
aisle.
did you know you
Feature?
can freeze eggs effectively and then eat them and they're fine? Isn't that like total garbage?
I'm not surprised.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I trust it.
I don't
What
know if
do
you can
do?
freeze. I want to freeze spinach though. If I could freeze spinach and
I buy
eggs,
frozen spinach.
can you cook it and then refreeze it and have it not be total trash?
I've never tried.
Probably, but it's not like fresh spinach. I think we've figured that out. Is if you freeze
Spinach.
like bag spinach, it doesn't defrost and
This is
act the same way.
my new plan is to do meal prep for the entire year. So I only cook once a year and then I fill a big chest freezer with frozen spinach, eggs, chicken breast.
That sounds terrible.
Why?
Dog shit.
My God,
Listen,
Crap.
guys, you can register an email at china.com.
Oh my God.
Oh.
It's all in Chinese, so I'm having a hard time figuring this out. But I
Lisa, you
kinda
put your
need
phone away without telling us anything.
Yeah, so I can't find a counting feature.
You're a terrorist.
I
All
tried
right.
to
Everyone-
measure your
everyone.
arm.
Okay.
You are a Bin Laden.
I tried to measure
bad
your
one.
arm.
A
It told
bad
me from your elbow up to your shoulder was like 12 and a half inches.
Did
I
it
don't
say?
know if it's accurate.
Does it measure how close you can get your elbows together behind your back?
No.
don't do that.
Wait, so
Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Don't trust it. Okay.
And then we'll shut down the podcast for
no,
sexual
I'm trying
harassment.
to visualize
Do
what
it.
it would look like. Is it going to
Look,
be like
if we're not getting
like,
shut down for all the terrorist information you just leaked, then
wait, is this going to be bad if I do it? I'm not going to do
No,
it.
you
It's
just
not like
it
you're
just
gonna
makes you stick
die.
your boobs out.
Oh, but in the sweatshirt, is that really going to do much?
I'm not trying to get you to do it. I was referencing a joke, Lisa.
Maybe I'll go to the bathroom and try it.
just to see if it's real.
What the fuck
Yeah.
are you trying?
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back
Lisa,
soon.
All right, Jesus Christ!
Son of
catch
a
on the
bitch.
Gotta
flip
conduct some
side.
experimentation.
Wait. How many
eggs are in a dozen?
How many soapless nights of Steve Jobs out of 10 would you rate
What?
this on?
Three.
9?
The phone.
Nine
soapless
soapless
nights?
nights.
9?
Rinse only.
1,000 Arabian Nights.
All right, so it's a good phone. Now we'll catch you on the flip side. Goodbye.
Oh my goodness.
So I was reading the modern day Nostradamus which is anonymous poster on 4chan. Years. You guys familiar with green text?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay. It's just like, I don't know, some sort of comedic writing where they do little sideways carrots and then it's all in green text.
Now that I see it on the screen, I am familiar.
Okay.
I just didn't know there was a name for it.
Here's a prediction. 100% true. Year 2020. Trump is reelected. Immediately declares war on Vietnam. Vietnam War 2.0. Thousands of Gen Z kids are drafted into the military. A few months later, be rice farmer in Vietnam. Start hearing Little Yachty playing in the distance to the sound of rotary engines. Helicopters start flying over me. Gucci Gang starts blasting from the helicopter speakers. Whole fucking area around me gets napalmed. Choppers drop off enemy troops. Get smoked by a 17-year-old with a Pickle Rick sticker on the side of his helmet. He does the Fortnite dance over my body, then yeets me into a bush.
Not gonna lie, that's a world I want to live in.
Oh yeah. Like fuckboy warriors? Is that what?
Can you like?
That is
my God.
Fuckboy 101 right there.
Do you remember? Have you guys seen Apocalypse Now?
No.
Yeah.
The helicopter with the big loudspeakers playing that like fucking operatic music or whatever.
No, it's Ride of the
Ride of the
Valkyries.
Valkyries.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And like it was like a big dramatic thing. I remember when I watched it. By the way, I didn't like that movie, but
Oh,
What?
it's an incredible movie.
Yeah,
You're
I thought it was-
bad at
I
judging
thought it
movies.
I thought it was ridiculous.
Well,
You're nuts.
yeah.
Why
there's no
did you
Nicolas
attack
Cage.
me direct? Well, that's what the
You
show-
deserve that one.
Because you deserve it.
Fine, we'll watch it again and then we'll review it.
You have
and
to
I
watch
will
the Redux.
I will take you tuners to Pound Town.
Tuners? What?
Get out.
So anyway, can you just imagine the fucking helicopters landing? Everyone's like, "Oh, fucking Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci." Like it totally takes the gravity away from that fucking scene. Fucking
But no, because like everyone would be terrified of that sound, so everyone's like running away, scared.
Oh my God,
guys,
fucking,
the Gucci
oh,
shit!
Mel
They're
Gib-
coming for us.
There's so many songs that would undercut the gravity of that scene.
Mel
Wrecking Ball
Gibson
by
in
Miley Cyrus.
Mel Gibson in We Were Soldiers. You imagine like the first one off, last one back. Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
Fucking Predator. when they're about to drive in the AC-130
I
flying,
can't
flying
feel
to
my
South
face.
They're all just singing, I don't know, Gangnam Style or something stupid. You're like, oh no, why?
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Hey, could you imagine the big fight scene from the chapel in the Kingsman? With instead of who did they play? Through the Fire and Flames or
No,
something?
they played Freebird.
Freebird. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Instead of that, it was like Opagum.
Wait,
style
Bill,
or
have you
something.
Through the
not
Fire and the
seen that?
Flames would be awesome.
No,
I
it's
didn't
the
see that, but
first
those are
one,
like-
right? It's got to be the
Those are
first
like
one.
two really different songs.
Yeah, I don't know how she got through the
No,
fire and
it
flames.
was there was a Bird and Fire. Phoenix was a
It's honestly, it's one of the best action
Something.
sequences in the past
Phenomenal.
like 10 years.
It's great.
Yeah, that
it's all
movie
one
was-
shot, right?
That movie was a really
Yeah.
nice
Yeah, it's all-
surprise.
Well, which movie? What was the name?
Kingsman.
Kingsman, the first one.
Right. Yeah, I think I don't know if that was an actual one shot. It could have been.
Okay.
It might have been. It might have been like
it-
a simulated one where they cleverly cut it together.
yeah.
That's what Birdman was. If you saw that,
Birdman
not.
was really good.
it's awesome. They gave it the perspective of a continuous. I think there were 3 cuts in the whole movie, and they're all like near the end, pretty much. Everything else is made to look like it's all one shot, but
Yeah.
it was clever editing. But it was done well enough that the effect,
Yeah.
was good. I think.
Interesting.
Anyway, The Kingsman is an awesome movie. I haven't actually seen it, but I've seen that scene.
I haven't seen the second one yet. I want to.
Badass.
Yeah.
The second one's not quite as good, but it's still pretty good.
Still good.
Okay.
I think we all agree. Godfather 3 was the best.
Oh my God.
So
Please get out.
you two have
why do I sit next to you?
you two, I'm pointing, listeners, Leisler and G-Vive, you did a game together. Our new section where we pair off and we really get into the nitty-gritty of something.
Yeah, played it separately but equally.
Oh. Well, yeah.
So the game
Until
we
the
played,
Supreme Court said otherwise.
So we played. It's a free game on Steam called The Navigator.
yes.
The Navigator.
So I guess okay. So I'll start. So the Navigator is. I'll preface with it's a very short game, and I think we both, when we discussed it very briefly beforehand, wished it had been longer.
Yes.
So it's a, I guess, platformer game.
Like a 2D.
2D platformer where
Yeah.
you're this person on a
You're like a
boat.
little
There's not
boy.
really a story. Person on a boat, and you have this magic anchor that you shoot towards a planet, and then you can either pull the planet towards you, or you can walk across the anchor to go to the planet, and you have to bounce between planets and get to whatever point you want to reach on the screen.
And they eventually like teach you the mechanic that you can pull, if you're on a larger planet, you can pull any planet that's smaller than that one towards you. So closer, you like throw your anchor at it and pull it in.
Yes.
And there's like very different ways, different goals, I guess, to like, get to your certain spot. Like at one point they introduced
light
that
thing.
light. Yeah.
They don't really explain it, but there's a light source on one part of the map, and there'll be some object blocking it. I guess
like
it's
one of the
always
bigger
been a
planets
planet.
or something. Yeah.
And you eventually have to maneuver the planets around in such a way that the light source can reach over to where the finish point is, and it will illuminate the finish point. And then from there, you have to remaneuver around without blocking the light again to get back to your point. Very difficult, I found out about halfway through the game. I couldn't figure out one of the levels, and I still have it.
It was probably the last level because there was only 4 chapters, and then there's like 3 levels in each chapter, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. So
It's a puzzler, very much. Like it's
Yeah.
you have to figure out your environment and like move things around to get to a certain goal, and or to set something off to trigger that your goal is achievable. Because I think with the light, it's you can get to the end point, but unless the light is shining on it, it's not active.
Right.
So you have to make sure the light's working. And the more you're talking about this and I'm thinking about it, the more it doesn't make any sense at all.
No, that's another thing. They don't preface it with any sort of storyline. It's
Yeah.
just a fun little game. I think only 4 to 6 people made it. There's a button
Actually, yeah, I
on the
think-
homepage that has just the names of the people who made it. There was like a handful of them. It was just a little project. It was pretty cool. I think was
there's-
it a university project?
Yeah. It's I'm imagining it's a bunch of students because it's from a tech university in
Yeah.
Copenhagen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it was a cute little game. There's really no story to it aside from you're this boy and you shoot anchors around to float around to celestial bodies and
get there.
And
Is
have
there a defined goal?
No, you
It's
just
get
go
to that
through the
endpoint. It's
yeah.
like a maze or a puzzle. So
Yeah,
like,
it's a platformer puzzler. It's just to progress through the levels.
Yeah.
They're really, I think there were 4 chapters, you said, right?
4 chapters and like 3 to 5 levels within each chapter.
Yeah.
So 4
Stages.
times.
Something
So
like
a
that.
very short game, but very nice. You want to talk about the artwork a little bit? Because I like that a lot.
The artwork was beautiful. And the music too. So it's like, it's really aesthetically pleasing. Like I said, the more I'm thinking about it now, the more like it doesn't make sense. But like you show up and in the first level, I think they only tell you like spacebar to throw anchor. So you do that and you immediately go to the planet above your ship, because that's another thing. You enter the screen or enter the level by just floating along your like little wooden ship.
Yeah,
On the
not
bottom, there's
not
water.
a spaceship, like a water ship,
Water ship.
a boat. You're on a boat, and suddenly you
And
can
it's
launch.
going
in
fast
in
and?
the ocean.
Oh no,
Does he have a nautical theme to Pashmina Afghan?
sometimes
Maybe.
Okay,
maybe.
Yes.
that makes me happy.
Motherfucker, don't you ever forget.
Hmm.
But yeah, then you start jumping around these planets and
You're magically in space,
Yeah,
and it's
but
wonderful.
it looks like it's all watercolor style kind of artwork with maybe like pen drawing as like the outlines. It's adorable or cute. It reminded me actually, maybe just because it's got those celestial bodies, but it reminded me of The Little Prince,
yeah,
like the cover of that book.
it kind of looked like it could be illustration for a pretty nice looking children's novel.
Yeah.
in a good way though.
Yeah,
It was nice. I think
it
Jake, are
added
you
so
pulling-
much character to the game beyond just like get to this point by using XYZ tools.
Yeah, it's really nice, and the music I thought was really. I think it was mostly string, violin.
Yeah.
It was very soothing.
Somewhere
it
in
was
the-
relaxing to play. I was like, oh
Yeah.
yes, this is great. Except when I got angry because some of the levels are hard as shit.
Yeah, some of them are a little difficult. You can restart a level if you, I guess, move the planets around and don't like it. Sometimes I would get stuck and I would be like, all right, let me just try again from a different perspective and see, like with a fresh mind, what it looks like.
Right.
I'm trying to think of like how long it took overall, because I feel like
It's not a very long
like-
game. A lot of the reviews I saw were positive. They're like,
Mhm.
this is a fun puzzler platformer game, good little use
Yeah.
of time. wish it was longer. It didn't take me that long to play through.
It took a while to get adjusted to using, because you use the WASD
Oh.
keys. But to walk around, like, you do move left and right on the planet. So if you land on the planet upside down, like, left makes you go visually right.
God, that
Like,
really bothered me.
it's confusing because you're...
Inverted horizontal controls?
Yeah.
It was-
Inverted
I-
vertical's bad enough.
Even
It was
after
weird.
about a half an hour of playing
Well,
the
I mean,
game,
it makes sense. Like, your gravity or your center is...
There's a
on the
defined
planet,
direction to move around the planet.
But
Yeah.
it just kept bothering me. I felt like the controls, I just kept messing them up every time. And instead of moving a planet closer when I would try to pull one in, I guess I was facing the wrong way and it was confusing me because I thought I was doing the right way and I ended up like walking across. So I had to go back down and then relaunch the anchor. I must have done this 20 times. I would always go around the planet the wrong way.
That sounds like something that gets smoothed out if the game is longer. You just get used to the mechanics.
It would
Which
be.
I think it was, because I remember like the first few levels or chapters, whatever we're calling them.
The instruction levels. Oh, this
Yeah.
is how you do this thing.
Yeah.
And you go A to B and then you're done.
Well, that's almost what I want to say. It's like by the time you end up at the end of the 4th chapter, it seems like you've gotten through all the tutorial stuff, and then that's it. So like you basically learn the mechanics of the game, and I don't know. There's not very much out there that I could find about the game, and it is a student game, so maybe that's just a project.
That's why I think it was just a school project.
But I would
liked
love
it.
to see more. I would absolutely love to see more of this game.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if they maybe did a longer side scroller thing and kept the same art, because I really appreciated the artwork in it. I thought it was nice because it was simple. When we were trying to pick a game to play for this, I wanted to drop my phone.
You dropped your phone, so mission accomplished.
I wanted to pick something just because we're both so busy. Like I'm in school full time and I have work and you have all the work
Gerbs.
and the derby and everything. So I wanted to pick something that was not going to take too much time, not something you have to commit a whole bunch of hours to.
That looks
like an RPG game or something else. That's a glitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake's pulled up some footage here, and that was clearly a glitch because you anchored nothing.
Yeah, so it was really nice. It was fun to play. It's just a good way to just spend, half an hour or so, but it would have been nicer if they had really gone through with it, I think, besides just what I'm guessing were the instructions for the project, and maybe made it a longer side scroller so there was more levels, maybe added a little bit of a story just so you become more invested in it.
It sounds like there's potential and looks
There
like
is.
it too.
I think there's a lot of potential. It's, a very easy style of game to add things onto and make a longer game, but I just like the way that they approached it with the artwork and
The-
just ease of play.
Yeah, the simplicity of it makes it so
'Cause I think on
beautiful
here-
and understandable, because they don't give you much direction. You're like, oh, sure, I'm this boy person floating around on my boat and moving planets around because I need to get to that swirly spot in the middle of the screen.
Yeah. I think on our podcast, we talk about a lot of heavily invested games because we all like to play those ones, RPGs, shooters, things like that you invest a lot more time into. And I think it's worth taking a look at these other smaller, simple games that, you don't want to put a whole lot of time and effort into, but they're still fun and entertaining anyway.
And beautiful.
This seems like it'd be the kind of thing that could really do well with a Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I understand that this looks like it may be for a school project, but it's definitely got it's a really good idea. And if all it would take to create something was a little bit of breathing room,
And fun.
and with some funding, you know what I mean? Maybe whoever they are would have more free time, or they could hire somebody to help, this seems like a great thing to support because, even without all the resource, they had a good idea, and they actually had two good ideas. One, the art style is really neat. It's almost like it almost looks like watercolor.
I said that.
It's watercolor on what looks like pen outline. It's really simple.
Yeah, but
it looks like a storybook.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it was cut out, and they're on different levels of paper, sort of in front of each other.
Yeah,
and then
flat sprites, but
And then the game itself, it sounds like it has a really good mechanics. I've never played a game like this where you've got the little gravity wells of these planets, and you climb across an anchor you throw, and I mean, it's new to me, so it just seems like they hit something good here. Hopefully, they develop it a little more. Maybe if a lot of people play it, they'll see that there's an audience for it. But
I hope so. I just wish there was more information about it out there, because they do have the 6, I'm guessing, students listed in the credits, and like it has a few of them have their like social media profiles on there.
Do you stalk them?
Do I stalk them?
Yeah, do you Facebook stalk them, Insta stalk them, whatever?
Not yet. Okay, not yet.
Really?
Don't let them know.
I
But
mean,
I would really like to see more from them, either as a group or even individually, because this blew my mind pretty much.
really, I mean, with a development group that small, and I've even had this idea on some of the other indie games that we've reviewed. I think that you can communicate with the teams pretty easily.
Right.
If you wanted to see more, you wanted to find out, we could just contact them.
Yeah, you could just fax them.
And see, yeah, we could fax them and see if they respond. Because, you know, the other game that you play, House Flipper.
Yes.
We were talking a little bit about how sometimes the English in the writing seems a little wonky, and I'm like, I wonder if they would want me to volunteer to just proofread it, right? And like, they could be like, oh well, it's supposed to be in European setting. A lot of people talk like this. I'm like, all right, you could just call it localization. I'll just proofread it for you, you know. Because they're a small organization, but I feel like people might be amenable to that. You never know. Maybe you send it an email being like, I really like this game. I want you guys to do more. It will be the thing that makes them do more, you know?
Yeah.
How long did it take y'all to play?
Well,
I'm trying to remember, it was either 63 minutes or 83.
yeah, it wouldn't take very long if you didn't get stuck on a level like that.
It's probably the very last level because I wanted to take a long time to figure out.
It was like it was halfway through the game or something like that. I was on like chapter 3 and I restarted it like 10 times. I was like, boo.
The ending was very unceremonious, or
I'm sure the ending was just the last level.
Yeah, and then it just shows the credits, and like brought you back to the chapters menu.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, okay.
I wouldn't really expect
As soon as something
one.
is labeled free to play,
Yeah,
my
I mean,
concern for
yeah.
that sort of thing goes
especially
right out the
because it
window.
looks like a school project. I'm sure there wasn't any thought into making an ending since there really wasn't a beginning anyway. It was just kind of,
Yeah.
here's the end of the game, but that's fine.
How much does the artistic style change throughout the game? I mean, could they just take the assets that already exist, the water, the boat, the player, the backdrop, and the planets, and rearrange it to make a new puzzle?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the
would think.
ship's pretty much the same every time. It might start out on different sides of the screen on the bottom, depending on the level. So sometimes you might start off more on the left. This one that we're watching is starting out more in the middle. Each of the planet sizes are color coded, so the small ones are like
usually that
yellowish
green yellow that we're seeing on the screen. and
mediums
there's-
orange, and the really big ones are bluish purple.
And then there's different colored ones for the light planets. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen that on the screen yet, but the point when light becomes a factor, you need one of the smaller planets produces light or has
It's
like
the
a
sun.
beam of light, but you have to get that beam of light to hit the sun. And that's when you were talking about it that I just realized how ridiculous that is, because it's not the sun that's giving off light, it's a planet shooting at the sun to spread light throughout the screen.
Yeah.
But that's also really cool because then you do see like shadows affect that. So if the light hits a planet, everywhere around it kind of gets lighter, but you see like a shadow coming away from it.
So are some of these planets, I'm sorry if you said this already, are some of these only some of the planets movable?
You have to be on the biggest or bigger planet than the one you're pulling.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
So it makes it a little bit difficult in a really easy way for them to create.
So you could move any planet as long as the one you're standing on is bigger.
Yes. Yeah. But potentially that means the bigger purple bluish ones, you're really never moving because they're all the same size and they're the biggest.
Yeah.
Could you, I mean, I guess at some point you could sort of break the level if you pull a planet too far away from the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's almost never a problem though. And there's
That's the problem I actually ran into.
Oh, really?
Is you're pulling a planet thinking it's the right way, and then you find out maybe I moved it too far, or maybe I need to move it back once I've, maybe if the light thing was on the level, you got the light working, but then you have to move the planets back around a different way, and then you're stuck.
There's also, I couldn't find a clear.
So
Yeah.
sorry. So
No,
we were
you're
just
fine.
watching in this playthrough that the person staying on the planet and he was pulling one of the other ones closer, but it wouldn't come any closer. There's a like the gravity field that it shows around it, if it comes too close to a different planet, it won't pull past it. So there's some limitation there too as to the angle that you can pull it at. So you can't just pull it through another planet or something.
Oh, that's pretty darn neat.
And there's a pretty wide radius, like she was saying. So you kind of can be like, well, there's no way to measure this, but like there's clearly space in between these two planets. I should be able to pull this through a gap, but
this seems like it's
it won't let you.
Typically a multi-solution.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's at least 2 ways to get through any of the levels.
There were definitely times when I was like sort of juggling back and forth between like pulling a planet, like a smaller planet, between 2 different bigger planets, and like you'd have to go back and forth and kind of like finagle your way through to make sure you're not pulling too far one way or the other. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, there's probably an actually easier way to do this, and I'm making it more complicated by like going back and forth, because that takes time to jump around to every planet to get to the other side of the screen to be able to pull the smaller planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, I couldn't tell, but not really like a defined range for the anchor. I feel like that could be something
I
kinda
think
cool
there
to
would.
add.
So when you're watching the playthrough, you can see that when the person's walking around on the planet and
they're like
you're
under,
kind of
next
pointing
to,
at it.
Yeah, like your head's pointing.
If your head's pointing toward the planet, you can kind of see that the gravity field on the other one lights up. I think that kind of indicates the range in terms of if the gravity field shows up, you can launch the anchor and it will reach far enough. But if it doesn't show up, it's
Then
too far away and it's probably not going to hit it. That's kind of what I figured out. It didn't really tell you that.
There's like some mechanical stuff with it too, where if you are, whatever that range is, if you are just at that point, just far enough, it will light up and you can throw your anchor at it, but you have to do it like in a very specific point. Like I'm guessing the peak of the planet you're on to get the closest to it.
Sort of a magic pixel. Like it won't happen unless you do it.
Yeah, you have to
just right.
perfectly line it up, and then when it appears, then you can throw your anchor.
And even
in
then,
the
because like there is like a trajectory of once you throw it, you can kind of see at the very end of the animation, it's slowing down, and you're like, oh fuck, it's not gonna make it, it's not gonna make it, and then the
gravity pulls it
just
in
is, like it just shoots into the planet, like
just kind of cool.
Okay. Really didn't look like it was gonna work.
Did you see any sort of community
No.
for custom creation of these puzzles? Because if they just made their assets available, I think any sort of existing community might make their own puzzles, and boom, tons of free content.
No, like there really hasn't been anything. There's been a few comments on Steam.
Yeah, I honestly didn't.
That's
look
really all
into
I've been
that.
able to find.
Yeah, because what it really seemed like was just a student project, which doesn't mean they shouldn't go out on it, but I don't think anyone went further with it. But just the way that the visuals on it and just the style of game that it is, it really does lend itself to other people bringing in and building in their own levels.
Yeah, well, they took the amount of time and effort to make it available on the Steam store, which I think some of the development packages you can get do that automatically. They make it so that you can publish it right away, but it's a non-zero amount of work, so yeah, hopefully we see it go somewhere. I think I'm gonna have to pick this up and play. You said it only took about an hour. I mean, that's
and
not
it's
too
free. It's just a fun little thing to do in the
You
meantime.
don't even have to pick it up. Just hit play
Download-
for free.
Download it to my machine.
I would like to say though, I was researching The Little Prince just so I could compare it. The art style is very similar, and I'll show you guys, but I just really enjoy that as I scroll down under similar books, the first one is Mindfuck.
No.
Like one's supposed to be about like a little kid, and
Then they got Mindfuck.
Mindfuck. One word.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I enjoyed the game. It didn't take much time, which is great because I didn't have much time to play a new game.
I mean, hey, free to play. You can't divide by 0, right? And we have our $1 per hour minimum threshold.
Yeah, right. So
Well, we can't divide.
well worth it.
We can't divide 60 minutes or 4 days by $0. So the game actually doesn't exist, and we've been making all this up.
Yep, pretty much.
Joke's on you, listeners.
No, it looks fun. I mean, it's free. I'm gonna pick it up too. Why not?
Yeah, it was fun.
Very nice.
That was the game.
That was our inaugural
we
co-pilot in-depth
we did a
review
thing, yeah.
of the Navigator, courtesy of
Navigator.
Genevieve and Lisa. Thank you.
Not Navigator. and not the Navigator movie.
Not the Navigator, which is a fanfic of The Legend of Zelda combined with alligators.
Oh God.
Oh
No.
boy.
Not
Tell
that.
me more.
It's not that.
Tell me more, Daddy.
I'm not telling. That is secret
Whoa.
time. That is.
And Frank's putting his hand in his pants.
That,
Always there.
I mean,
There's nothing there.
Whenever,
We know this.
it's just sheet metal. Like, yeah. Cheap, stamped, slightly rusted sheet metal.
cock?
Sheet metal cock.
So,
That sounds awful.
what shall we do next?
Wait for Bill to sit down. In silence.
Yeah,
Yes.
I already closed it up.
Talked about some penises.
All right. Well, I guess we needed to.
Talk about penises?
I will do.
We have a contract.
I got a couple of games that I'd like to talk
With
about.
penises all over the world.
I picked up a game that we have seen on Steam sale a couple of times. I like to call it Her War I Tried to Believe. If you recall, Her Lie I Tried to Believe. Perhaps the worst game ever created. Really a click simulator. But the game is called This War of Mine. Now, I'd watched two best friends do
This
a playthrough.
little
of it.
war of mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it shine.
I had watched two best friends do a playthrough of it previously, and it looked really, really cool. It was the art style.
Also beautiful.
How do I describe it? Yeah, it's really impressive, and it almost has that feel of like
Depression.
2D assets arranged in a 3D way. You ever play a game where the character moves? And then the background a little behind it moves more slowly, and then way in the distance that
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a play where they have the multiple sets and they move them.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or a classic Disney cartoon
Right.
movie.
So this game it seems like it was made by a pretty small studio. It was in fact made by 8-Bit Studios. They were founded in 2010, I believe, September 11th, 2010. And looking at their record of game production, they seem to have a number of
Terroristic
titles. Let's see here. I had them pulled up. I'll just go through their titles. So starting in 2011, Anomaly, Warzone Earths, then Funky Smugglers, Sleepwalker's Journey. I heard of that, never
Wait,
played
what's
it.
Funky Smugglers?
I don't know.
right, next
Anomaly Korea, Anomaly 2, and then the names that we start to recognize is War of Mine, 2014. Anomaly,
Hijacker's Tale.
Anomaly Defenders in 2014. They really like this Anomaly thing. Then Beat Cop in 2017. I watched a playthrough of that. Looked really good. And then this year they have a big release with Frostpunk, which I thought was the publisher.
Sound good.
Well, I think it's sort of another post-apocalyptic in like a cold wasteland. If I recall, I remember getting really hype about it, and then I saw that they developed this War of Mine.
Are these guys from Poland or Russia?
I'm not
Assuming it's one of the two.
I'm not sure, but so the whole story of the game is that you are survivors caught inside of a city between a rebel faction and a government military. So you're basically caught in the crossfire and you're just trying to survive, I thought, indefinitely. Now, if you think of games like Banished, which is strategic survival
Poland.
game, the game I think just goes on forever. This I made it to 39 days my first try, and then died. And I looked it up. I was like, how fucking long is this game? They're like, oh, it usually finishes between 40 and 50 days. So basically the mechanic of
Yeah, it's Poland.
yeah, basically the way that this game works
I looked
is
it
that
up.
you have a 2D vision of a building, really nicely artistically done. Now everything's dark. It's got grays. It's got washed out whites for the light.
Very gloomy.
Very gloomy. Everything's rubble. And normally I don't
You
like.
might say soggy.
Normally I don't enjoy that oppressive, like grayed out color. But I think the difference here is it's not like gray brown, like we used to see in all the Call of Duties, right? You had this like everything was brown. This is like just gloomy, and it clearly somebody put a lot of attention into creating these art assets. Even looking here in the basic house, you can see there's detailed wallpaper in the back. There's different appliances, refrigerators, stuff like that, all adding to the aesthetic. Outside crumbling walls with "fuck the war." There are tanks outside, but the whole game is trying to survive. And the things that prevent you from doing that are bandits, injury, hunger, and disease. Now, when you start the game, you have a basic crafting table from which you can make a metalworking table, an herbs table. You can make water collectors, a stove, all different things to give you basic abilities. You can upgrade them with more resources and then make more complex things. The way that you collect resources is to go out to different locations at night. So during the day, you do your thing. You can have somebody sleep. If you have a bed, you can have them make food. You can have them talk to each other because they're super depressed. And then at night, you have somebody guard the place. If you're smart, somebody can sleep. And one person can go out and scavenge. And now this is really where it gets different between characters.
Just clarify for the audience that you are playing more than one person. You start with 4 people?
No, you typically start with 3 in my experiences. And there's a couple of situations where you can have 2 or 1. I haven't tried those yet. About 18 days into a 3-person scenario, I typically find that I have another person approach me. So
to join your crew.
If you let them. So you make the tools that you need to explore these different locations, like a bombed out school, a derelict hospital, a port, construction site that's been overrun by the military, and the military is, of course, very temperamental. They can leave you alone or murder you depending on how they feel that day. Sometimes there are random events that you can interact with, like there's one as a military soldier. You're hiding on the other side of a door, and you see him and hear him beating up some woman in a bombed out supermarket, and you can either intervene. If you're armed, you can maybe kill him. If you're not, you get killed. So you have to go out to these buildings and you search through different piles of rubble or closed chests to find more resources, things to make, other goods, or things to eat, right? One mechanic is they put a big pile of rubble that you can either clear with your hands. It takes 2 hours. You have like 8 hours at night to explore, or you build yourself a shovel. Goes much faster. You can make yourself a crowbar to loudly open a number of different closed doors, or you can make lockpicks, which do it silently. Now, why would you take one over the other? This is also a stealth game. It depends on how you want to play it, but there is combat, but it is not good. And herein lies my major issue with this game. If I wasn't clear before, I'll reiterate that this sort of has the side cutout view that Fallout Shelter does, right?
This came out, I believe, before Fallout Shelter, but is the same idea, but no, all the cartooniness is gone, and it looks much more sophisticated.
Right. And we're looking at a screen here. Clearly, one of the developers took a picture of his face, and he's the character. I believe that's Pavel. Pavel used to be a football star, so he runs faster than everybody else. You have different characters. One character can comfort your other characters if they're depressed. Another one's really good at bartering, so you trade more effectively. No, this guy's a skilled scavenger. I think he finds more stuff. There's basically the best guy that I found to go out and get shit with is Bruno. Not Bruno. I can't remember his fucking name. They're all like those kinds of names. Pavel, Bruno, whatever.
Do you pick what people are in your group, or it's just random which ones you find? That
you can get random. The one that comes to join you midway through seems to be random. And the random events of the days are generated as soon as night ends. So the game seems to auto-save, and I can't quite find a way to save it otherwise, only after the day has concluded. So that has led to some very long nights because the day goes about 15 minutes and then the night goes about 15 minutes. So each day takes you like half an hour. Well, if you get through the day, you don't want to turn off the game because you lose all the things that you did in your house during the day. So you might as well go out and scavenge. If you go out and scavenge, you have a really good night. You have a ton of good shit. You get excited and you start monkeying with it. And you're like, oh shit, I'm halfway through this day. Do I want to lose all that stuff I did? Oh, I'll just play another one. And then you get to the night, you got to play the night again. The same thing happens, right? So you end up playing hours and hours and hours. Now, I spent $7 on this game. Did I get my 7 hours out of it? Absolutely, I did. But I do remain a little conflicted about whether or not I really made a good decision in getting it. It looks great. It's made really well. Lots of fun in the... in exploring. I think they randomly generate the things you find each time, so you may go to the same location. However, it has different resources to find. At night before you go to, I mean between gameplays. At night before you go out, they'll show you a number of different locations you can go to in a map, and it gives you a brief description. It'll be like, you know, a nice old man used to live here. Then he got exploded by a bomb. There's probably lots of food, some building materials, lots of meds. If you want to go here. Other places will be like tons of weapons, tons of food, danger. It's like drunken military bros will fucking shoot your ass off. They don't talk like that. I do. But you get the idea. And then it says danger, or it'll say caution. And the stealth of this game seems to be pretty well done. It shows you as you're moving through the room, a building, if another person's there, typically you see a red circle emanating out from their footfalls. Now they spookify you a little bit because rats also make
noises,
red circle sounds. However, they move a little differently, which you get used to. I.e., they can't go up and down stairs. When they go through doors, the doors don't open. Now, if you're in one room and the door is closed to another room, you can still sort of see the outline of the room, sort of see what's in it, but it gets fogged over in this pretty neat little like frost effect.
Which actually like looks kind of like cross-hatching texture-wise, but it's really cool. And it's a lot different than just having it be like a blacked-out room. Yeah. You can kind of see some shapes in it, some forms, or some maybe sometimes even like the people, but it's really unclear. And sorry to steal the spotlight, but also when you like run by a staircase or an open door, you see what you would normally see as like your field of vision going through that. So
yeah, here, let me get there for a second. So if you're not in a room, you can see the outline of a fridge, and refrigerators typically have food items in it, and sometimes food is really hard to come by. So you know you want to navigate to that room when you get into the building. If there's a medicine cabinet in a room, you can guess you might want to get there. You can be prevented from getting into rooms with metal grates, which you make one-time use saws to cut through. Sometimes you get in a room, you got to open up a locked cabinet. You can either pry it and risk getting detected or not. Now, if somebody detects you, they will come running, and you can see doors opening and closing even in the frosted area, and you'll see red circles typically moving really, really quickly.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, and you'll hear them say like, "Is somebody there?"
So now you don't actually see them.
Yeah, so this is where the game sort of falls apart for me. And I'll rewind it a little bit. I played through the first game. I tried to figure it out because I think that's part of the fun. I've sort of seen reading guides as spoiling for me, right? Because if you read it, you're going to read more about the end of the game and why you do certain things. Like, okay, if you want to get such and such ending, if you want to be ready for this event, you need to prepare early. Well, this game sort of forced my hand because it takes so long to progress to a significant position. Every day is about a half an hour, right? So by the time you get your head a little bit above water, you're 5 or 6 days in. That's 3 hours. If you fuck it up, one of your characters is dead, there is no restart.
It's like
there is no go back to the day and lose my progress. There's none of that. Your character dies, and then it moves on, and that's it.
I like that. Your
whole playthrough is fucked, right? Now, you could muddle through and continue to play, but if you were trying to change one aspect of your style, well, fuck you then. And they even get to a point where you're going to figure out whether or not you're going to go have a good playthrough again. It's another 3 hours. And so I did something I don't usually do, and I did reading on the game before I really got into it. I pulled a Frank and I educated myself. And I have to say, it really did change my experience, right? As a gamer and a consumer of this story, it was very different all around. Typically, I go through it, and it's like seeing everything for the first time. Every time I see a new character or a new mechanic, it's really exciting. It's really engaging. It's so new. I wonder how this is going to go. This one, reading up on all the different techniques to get ready for late game and survive to the end, I still derived joy out of it, but there wasn't that, opening a Christmas present level of surprise. That wasn't the utility I got out of it. I felt like I was getting ready to go out and execute a play, right? I felt like I was that same sort of feeling when you're practicing a play with your football team or your soccer team or your basketball team, and then your game time and you're running the play and you execute it well, right? You're like, all right, cool. I did it. I did that thing that I meant to do. So that was the experience I started to get. And there was a little bit of mystery here and there. I didn't read about every permutation of possible things that could happen. I don't know everything about every character. But I did research which characters are good to have. I found that the biggest limiting factor is your goddamn backpack size. The backpack has like 6 rows of 6 slots. That makes you think, oh, eventually I can upgrade my backpack to carry 36 things. Not the case.
What?
I leveled up every crafting thing that I could fucking level up. No backpack.
They really don't want you to have 6 slots.
That's really irritating.
It's frustrating. Now, some
I have
characters...
6 slots every night.
Some characters...
6 or sick?
Both.
Oh, here's fucking...
6 sick sluts.
Sorry to interrupt, Bill, but you can go through life trying to bang 110, but you could just bang 5 2s.
So here's this guy.
That's my approach.
I'm not
Or
even
5 screws.
I'm not even going to get on to Bruno. So these characters all have different, their own individual backpack capacities, and that remains constant. Some characters have 8. Many have 10. Some have 12. One guy has 17.
What?
Tank.
Who do you think I had my best playthrough with?
That guy.
That fucking nerd. Because he takes what is 3 days worth of trips and does it in 2. Now, these characters all have different...
Positives.
They all have different abilities. Like Marco is a skilled scavenger. We're looking here. Bruno is a good cook, which means it takes less resources to cook food, which is good because, with most characters, you might need 3 water to cook 1 food with 1 combustible. And, with Marco, you might need 3 and everybody else you need 4.
Yeah, that's like when Lisa cooks, we only need 1 pound of food to feed both of us. But when I cook, we need 3 pounds of food to feed both of us.
Exactly. One of the other guys I found that was great is the handyman. He's handy. 20% less to make anything in the game, which is a huge deal when you're on a resource restricted game. So if you have the handyman plus this guy who can carry 9 tons of supplies on his back, well, you're sitting kind of pretty. The other thing about these characters is some of them have addictions. Some of them are smokers. Some of them drink a lot of coffee. And this makes them a pain in the butt. Can you survive without them having their vice? Absolutely. But I've found that the less close they are to exactly what they want to be, the more likely they are to get fucking sick. Ugh. And getting sick is how you resource bleed. Right? So you can get little herby herbs. If you're a little sick, you take a little herby herb. And then you might get better. Next day, maybe you need another one. These are the most, medicine's the most expensive shit in the game. If you get really sick, you got to take meds or you will fucking die. Well, if you're a smoker and you're not getting your smokes and then you're a little too hungry, and you got to heat the place. Sometimes it's super cold in there, so you got to heat it up.
Most fucking Polish people are all about the cold and the food. Yeah. And
if you let it get too cold, people get really sick. And if they're sad and stressed, they're going to get sick all the time. It's a big pain in the ass. They can get sad. And when they get sad, they can then get depressed. And they start talking shit all the time. And when they get real depressed, they become broken. And they are useless. They simply sit there. And you have a couple of options. You either let them lay in bed and try to talk them out of it, or you get them drunk. You get them drunk, they may feel better. Then they'll go to depressed.
This is the most Polish thing I've ever heard.
So,
being the Polak in the room, I can attest this is true.
You're the cat, okay?
so
This is how I
Stop.
imagine Polish people view life. Like,
This is
oh
how
man,
they
I don't
do
get to
it.
smoke cigarettes today. I'm just gonna lay in bed and not do anything. And then their buddy comes over, like, dude, like you got to do something with your life. Here, just drink all this vodka. Okay. And then they're only slightly
You're right.
depressed.
So some of these characters are really valuable because they give you good benefits and they have no addictions. Awesome. Because you're not filling up your resource slots with whatever they consume. Like the smokers smoke 3 cigarettes a day. You can trade 3 cigarettes for like 6 of some other worthless resource that you can use to build things, and building things is really important.
I really like that they have addictions, like different ones. Like that's something they don't really find in games. Like different characters will have different perks, but there's not a lot of negative perks that I see in games.
I would like to point out, not that I'm going to get into reviewing Red Dead Redemption 2, but in 1899 fucking frontier Wild West bullshit, your band of outlaw bandits has no problems finding coffee and cigarettes or booze.
Yeah, so in this game, you can make it, and you can make it to trade it or use other things. So I'm constantly short on water because I don't make enough rain collectors. In order to use a rain collector, you got to make a filter. In order to make a filter, you need 3 scrap. So you make the filters, and then you hook it up to your water filter, your water collector, and it takes 4 hours, and then you get 4 water. In order to cook food, you need 3 water or 4 water, depending on if you have the good cook. If you don't, you can use that mixed with sugar that you've collected inside of a moonshine maker that you've also had to collect scrap for, that you then heat. It takes 5 hours to make it. Then you can take that and you can run it through a distiller, which requires another filter and more heat, and then you get 2 alcohol. You can use 2 alcohol and 4 herb and 1 scrap to make bandages, which trade really highly, or you can have somebody drink it to feel better, or you can simply trade the alcohol to this trader who comes around your house every 4 days, and he will give you something. If you don't have a good bargainer, he gives you dog shit. If you do, you can actually get some good stuff. No matter what you do, I find you're always looking for more resources if you try to do what I do, and is build everything useful as soon as possible. Towards the end of the game, if that's successful, I got like 7 or 8 days where it worked out really good. No matter what I found while I was out, I could make something out of it. But I could not figure out a good way to rush that, because if you go out and you get a ton of wood and a ton of scrap, you're short on, I call them gizmos, but they're like gears. You're short on electronic parts. And like in order to upgrade, the herbs, in order to not just make bandages, but to make pills, you have to upgrade your tool table to make a light bulb or some fucking garbage and all that. So you can see there's a lot going on.
That's a lot.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to figure this out. I failed a couple times and it took a shitload of time. I said, I'm going to pull Frank, and I read it. So I found the character that can carry the most shit. I had a sneaky suspicion he'd be the best. Guess what? He fucking was. I finally beat the game. I survived to the end. Well, it wasn't like the first time, because I only survived 25 days and then the game ended. I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're like, when you start in winter, typically only goes 25 days, and then the peacekeeping forces come
But that's
in.
a random start
Oh,
time.
so-
I don't know
Yeah.
yet. I don't know. It just seems like every time it starts in the winter, it's cold already. You have no time to prepare. If you survive, it's just easy sailing through the end. The other guys start in warm weather, and then it gets cold, so you have to build up all your shit before then. I started saying, here's the frustrating part with this game, and I'll get back to it. When you lose a character, the game fundamentally changes for the worse. You can't run your house as good. You can't, at night, you need to guard your house because it will be raided. You need to upgrade your defenses early on by boarding up holes and building a door, like a special door, or else your characters will be assaulted and will need bandages every fucking day. When they need bandages, they get sad. And when they get sad, they get fucking worthless. And if they're too sad and too damaged, they just fucking die. So I did all that. I was coasting through. I got super pumped up. I got my boy Pavel, put him in body armor, put him in goddamn helmet, gave him a gun, gave him a knife. The first time I went out to get in combat, I tried to sneak out and kill somebody. And the combat, like, I was like whooping their ass. And then all of a sudden the computer got one over on me, even though I like jumped out of somewhere, and it killed me. And like, oh, your guy's dead. And I was like, oh, 9 hours into the game, he's dead. All right, let me give it a try. Let me continue to try to play. So my two characters are fucking sad, and I can't collect resources and feed myself. So more hours go by, and eventually we get assaulted enough by bandits in the night that one of my other characters gets killed. So all I have left is one depressed lady. She's not just depressed, she's broken.
Oh, God.
She won't even get out of bed, let alone throw scavenge.
Spending time with her sleeping all day.
Just day in, day out. I hope she'd get over it. She doesn't. Day 39, she died. That was it. She
So
cried
sad.
herself to death. Didn't eat, didn't take the medicine I had stockpiled, just fucking died.
Okay, I take back what I said about it being cool, that there's like no save, there's no go back, there's no start over. It would be fine if they gave you some way to kind of get out of it, but it seems like once you lose one person,
It
like
depends, I think.
it's kind of over, or at least it makes it really hard to even continue playing, and the fact that you can't just restart it even from the very, very beginning, that would bother me a lot.
Well, you can go all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, so you can just restart a new game.
Yeah.
So you can decide to just
You
quit.
say, fuck
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
You restart.
Well, that's fine.
But you lose 14
many
hours or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I was 39 days into a game last time Pavel died. He had an AK-47. He was all armored up. I snuck up on this dude. And you can hide in these doorways. And the problem I ran into a couple times is like I try to fight somebody, it didn't work. And I'd be like, all right, Pavel, run down this hallway. You're fast as fuck. Hide in this doorway. So he runs down the hallway, loses the guy. And instead of quickly ducking into the goddamn doorway, his character realigns and then backs up. And guess what? The combatant still sees me. Even though I'm hidden, he shoots me in the closet. I can't close the game fast enough for this to not happen. He's then dead. My playthrough's over. It takes time to get to a point where you even have a weapon to try to fight people. It takes literally hours of work to just try combat again with anything other than fists.
Oh, boy.
I rushed it. I went into a supermarket, tried to save this lady who was clearly being coerced into sex from a drunken soldier. I came up behind him and punched him in the back of the head. I started running his shit. He pulls out a gun, kills me. Over. 3 hours gone. Don't even fucking bother trying. I go in with Pavel, armored to the teeth. I'm like, all right, I'm going to fucking take these dudes. Sneak up on a guy. I hit him. He doesn't die for some reason because the combat is moody. I try shooting him, and then all his friends come in, and I shoot them all, and they all don't die, and then I die. And then I'm like, oh, okay. There goes 25 hours of fucking gameplay to try this mechanic I wanted to explore that's in the game. Turns out it's hard as shit and useless. So it's like, you can do combat, and I understand it's supposed to be hard, but you cannot test the limitations without fully compromising your game if you fuck up. So it's basically like, you better have derived all the fun you want out of this game and be not even worried about it. Do 20 hours of work, and maybe you'll throw the game. You got to be cool with throwing the game if you're going to try this shit.
Wow.
Otherwise, you can just sneak around. And the other issue with this, G, you were watching me as I was playing.
Right.
There could be somebody downstairs, and you're sneaking on the above them, right? And the stairwell doesn't even directly line up, but they're below you, in front, under the floor, and they see you. And you're like, what? And what they do is they go, hey, you! And then they pause. And I'm like, all right, are they going to attack me? Because not everybody attacks you, right? Some of them just say, get out of here, or would you like to trade? So then they attack you, and you're like, oh, shit, I better run. And your character's like, huh? Oh, let me run. And then you fucking hide, and then you then you fucking get killed. I ran out of a building, running away from 6 dudes attacking me with guns and stuff. Almost get away. Accidentally click the top of the screen. My character turns around and walks towards them. Gets killed. 26 days into the playthrough.
Oh my god.
It's just like, oh my God, come on.
They have
And then everybody's sad.
Yeah.
Everybody's sad, right? Well, it turns out in the game, there are people you can kill and nobody gets sad, right? You can kill bandits. But how the fuck are you supposed to figure that out without trying it? Because 1, if you kill the wrong people, everybody's sad and sad people die. 2, if you fuck with somebody and you fight them, you might die anyway. So you're never going to explore that. But if you do kill people, you get a ton of good resources. Well, it turns out some characters are stone cold killers, right? One of them's a lawyer. She don't give a fuck. If she gets a little upset if you kill innocent people. I'll give you an example. I went into an apartment building. Somebody detected me, ran away. Somebody ran back with their friend with a gun and shot me. So I killed that motherfucker. Then I run through the rest of the building and they're all cowering in fear. Well, do I kill them?
Yes.
I did. And then they're like, oh, those innocent people. Like, they're all accomplices to this guy's attempted murder. No, my characters didn't like it. But if I only killed the baddie, then everybody's cool with it. If I wipe out this other house where it's like abandoned and his abandoned old parents, including a blind mother, well, everybody's fine with that. Unless you get the guy who's like the work mule and he gets jumped and then he kills to defend himself, then he's sad for 4 days.
Oh,
so
God.
it's just like, it's this whole fucking thing. What's up, G? What were you going to ask?
No, I was just gonna point out that emotional part of it. But I thought you said you're the like brutish guy, which I'm guessing your work mule is. Doesn't he can kill people and no one cares, right?
No,
Isn't that what,
no.
one of the
I haven't had a
benefits?
character yet. Nobody cares. I read that he exists in the game. I guess he just like kills and doesn't tell anybody about it. So there's a trickle down. Like, not just your character who did the killing gets upset, but other people in the house get upset, right? And you're like, you kind of got to guess who it's going to be.
But even like not killing isn't. You said there's like an old couple that you would go in and you would just rob or like loot their place.
Yeah. So if you steal from people, some of your characters get really moody. And it's through them. Like, you go in this old people's house and they got a bunch of cool shit. They won't fight you. They follow you around and go, please don't take my wife's medicine. Yeah, it's sad, but come on. We're in a war.
You're literally living in
this war of
war-torn.
Yeah.
Mine.
And like, one of our characters is like bleeding
war.
every day.
I tried to believe.
And I steal their bandages. And they're like, oh, I can't believe we took from those old people. And then like, he's too sad to heal. And you're like, God damn it.
Oh God.
Like, I did this for you.
Yeah. So
Wow.
really the way to play this game is to read everything you can on it. Then, when you explore all these buildings, commit them to memory or research the layout of the rooms, because they have consistent rooms blocked with consistent tools needed to open them, like saws or whatever. Then, look at everything that you need on a given day. Write it down. Then, when you go out scavenging, write down everything that you see while you're out scavenging, because it gives you a general overview in the map screen. Write down exactly what it is and plan out what you want to get, and do it very precisely.
So you, as the player, need to be omniscient
Right.
to have a standing chance at this game.
Correct.
You can muddle your way through. In my first playthrough, I made it to day 39. But my big issue is that this is a really good game if you read up on it, and probably if you don't. If you just play quiet and you try to survive, you'll probably get through it and see success. But you cannot learn these things without hours and hours and hours of ramming your head against the wall. It's not like you can reload to, like, even if you had checkpoints, day 5, if you could go all the way back to day 5 and make it from there with different random events and learn, you're like, fuck, I lost 4 days, but whatever. That would be fine to me, right? But you got to start back from the beginning. You can lose 20-hour games because you're like, I'm going to try something new. I'm finally prepared. And then your game is sunk, right? It is so goddamn frustrating.
rough.
And the buildings in each game are different. They're some, like, you got a quiet house here. Sometimes that appears, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes buildings are cut off because of snow or because of heavy fighting or whatever. Sometimes sometimes, you know, you go to a ruined building that's supposed to be empty and there's still a guy living there. And you try to flee, but your character does something stupid and you get stabbed 4 times and then he's hurt and he's useless. And it's just, like I said, I guess what I'm trying to say is, would I recommend to anybody buying this game for $7? Yes, you will get your 7 hours out of it. But you got to know what you're walking into. Some really, really cool stealth mechanics. I mean, even you can walk up to a door, you look through it, right? And like G said, if you walk by a stairwell, you can see it's illuminated where you're aware of things. So much of it implies that it would have good stealth mechanics. Whether or not that makes sense for a bunch of jabronis in a war-torn area, I don't know. But it implies that, like, all right, we put a system in here for you to be stealthy. If you use it, it'll be like other stealth games. You'll friggin' murk people. For the most part, I mean, that can happen. You can, if you have a shovel and you hide in a closet, you can go ahead and kill somebody by jumping out and hitting them. But, like, so many things go wrong so easily that it's surprising how shitty your characters are. I like it a lot. I will play it again. I will probably try to play through every different combination of characters. They have preset ones, and then they have, you can randomly generate a crew, I think. I haven't done that yet. Because I know what I would do. I would just randomly generate it, and I would try to get the best crew together, right? I would keep doing it until you get the best one, and then it's like, well, I sort of just cheated the game. I lamed it out.
You should try doing it with all the people who have addictions and who are shitty.
You just literally pick the worst people.
Well, you could, but the thing is, like, you die 1,000 deaths in this game. You pick the shittiest one. If you're like, oh, I'm doing okay. Then day 20, something goes south, and then you just wait for the game to fail, and then you die, right? And you spent 15 hours dying a slow death. It just, it doesn't promote in my mind, a lot of creativity in how you're playing, because the consequences are the game ends after hours and hours and hours. So you've got to play it to the point where, like, you don't give a fuck if you're wasting your time. Maybe get real drunk and play.
Maybe that's the real
Maybe
war.
smoke a bowl and then, like, cruise through it while you're doing something else. Like, you know what I mean? I usually have YouTube running now because it's not that intense. But everything about the game otherwise is great. It's nicely balanced. No matter how pretty I think I'm sitting, I still need to work to get more. There's never a time where I'm like, I'll just chill out at my house and cruise to the end. The game seems to balance a little bit. Like, late game, when you're doing real well, you have a harder time finding resources, which I think is sort of shitty, but it sort of scales the difficulty, right? Really great story. You'll find notes to loved ones all over the place. You know, like, hey, George, we had to leave. We hid money under the sink for you, and then you can go take it. You run into a smuggler who wants 10 diamonds to smuggle you away. I told him to eat shit. I don't know what happens there. So, you know, I didn't read all the little twists, but it's tough. It is a good game. It is really well done. But it is frustrating in a way that I don't enjoy being frustrated. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
The cost of being creative in this is so high, because 10 hours is a lot of time to just fucking start over again and do the same thing. So, but if you're okay with playing, just trying to get through and playing a way that you know is smart, you'll survive a pretty long time, and slightly different things will happen, but you'll get a pretty much consistent experience. It's still good. It's still fun. Once I beat it with a set of characters, I don't think I'll replay it with them ever again. But for $7, I do recommend it. It makes me excited to play their newest release, the Frostbite or whatever. 4 years is a long time for a game company, and maybe they move towards a more realized style of game. Maybe it'll be a little bit more refined, and it'll be I don't know. It'll suit my taste more. Not that you need to suit my taste to be a good game, but I'm willing to take the chance on their new game. So, do you guys have any questions about it?
No, I mean, it looks like a good game, and from what you've described, it seems like it's worth playing, but some of the frustrating aspects, I feel like I'd get really pissed off really fast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They could be deal breakers for a lot of people.
Yeah. Is it worth? Will you get $7 worth of value out of it? Looking at gameplay, absolutely. Like game time to money spent. But I don't know if you're going to feel good about it because you're like, oh, this was fun. But holy fuck, did I get frustrated when the game shit down my throat in a way that I didn't expect, you know?
And also you had to murder old people.
You just let them die.
I wonder if it's this playthrough that we're watching, but there was a point when you were playing it where you found like a house or some building where someone was clearly keeping people prisoner.
Yeah.
Did you ever figure out what happened with that, or like?
No, I tried to go in and rescue them, and then the combat blew up in my face, and I was brutally murdered. Right? Like, they put prisoners in the other side of this building with a psycho. They tell you there's a psycho in there, and I'm like, all right, the point of the game must be to rescue them. Yeah, I just got fucking murdered. I was like, oh, fuck. Well, that was stupid to try to do, you know, because now my game is ruined. So, if you're going to get it, make peace with having to read a lot about it, and read a lot about it.
And failing a lot.
Well, not if you read a ton, but you're going to lose some of the magic, but you'll enjoy it in other ways. Anyway, it looks great, really well done. This is a darn cool and good idea executed by people who clearly tried really hard, and I am very hopeful for their next installment. It is a above average game. I'm not mad at it or them. It wasn't everything I hoped it would be, but for $7, I mean, can't be too mad. So I give it
very, very hard face rub.
I give it 2 empty beer bottles, 3 things of scrap, and 8 dead rats out of unlimited needed resources to survive the apocalypse.
Wow.
You know. All right. So that went quite a bit longer than I expected. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this section, come back with our Steam sale. Hey, maybe we'll even see this game on sale. Catch us on the flip side. Welcome back, everybody. Before we get into the Steam sale, I have to mention that I was told I said 8-bit. It is 11-bit. I swear in my mind's eye I saw the number 11, but I said 8. So
11-bit Studios.
11-bit Studios. Oh, boy. All right. So I actually floated the idea of us doing a good old games review instead of Steam sale this week, and I was told, no. Somebody's a little excited. So, Jake, you want to take the reins on this week?
Sure. We have several big titles on the Steam sale this week. You have less than 24 hours as of recording this to get on these deals, so fuck you. The one I'm excited about is Just Cause 3 XL Edition for $6.74.
It's a great deal.
Is that the latest installment?
That is the most recent installment with all of the DLC, etc. included.
Holy shit.
For under $7. And let me tell you something. Best money you can spend. I put easily 200 hours into this game.
No shit.
Yes.
It's a very fun
crushed
game.
it. It is so cartoony and fun.
You
and
are
violent.
a human fighter plane.
Yes. So those who are not familiar with the Just Cause series, I've only played 2 and 3. I didn't play the first one, and there is a 4 coming out, I believe, in 2019.
Ooh.
Maybe at the end of this year, even, I forget. But super pumped for that. But the Just Cause games are open world, sandbox. Imagine Grand Theft Auto, except, well, I guess you could also think of what's the
I would say it's a cross between
GTA's.
Far Cry and Grand Theft Auto.
I'm trying to think of that game where you're a superhero.
Infamous?
Prototype?
No, well, there's a bit of that, but not really. God damn it! I'll kick myself after we're done recording. But whatever. Big open world over in Just Cause 3, over 1,000 square kilometers of game map. Yeah, it is huge. And you, in 2 and 3 at least, you are this badass mercenary super soldier who deposes dictatorships of various sorts.
This is the game I've seen where people will shoot the bottom of a pressurized like gas canister and it takes off like a rocket, and you shoot your Batman grapple hook at it, and then you ride it into the sky and jump off just before it explodes,
It's
and then you like squirrel suit over to a fighter plane and you steal it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So, Grand Theft Auto.
You are a super soldier with unlimited, instantly deployable, highly steerable parachutes. You just deploy it. You let go of the button that keeps it open, and you can deploy another one right away. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's no limit. Who gives a fuck? And you have a grappling hook that not only can draw you toward things, you can also connect things together and draw them toward each other.
What?
Yeah. So, ledge of building, meet random dude's chest, remote command to have the cable compress, and another one to have them disconnect, and you send a dude rocketing into the stratosphere. Shit like that. And meanwhile, there's also explosions, guns, vehicles out the wazoo. There's almost never a reason to drive a car, but you can hijack vehicles as well as order them. Planes, helicopters, motorcycles. But in addition to the backpack, first of all, you can parachute sail. You can just use your grappling hook. You rocket toward things. Okay, with it, it's extremely strong. And if you're falling toward the ground and you don't deploy parachute, you can use your grappling hook at the ground to move even faster toward it and take no damage. Yep.
Physics.
Physics do not apply.
Woo.
You are a superhero. But you can use your grappling hook and the parachutes in combination to sail across the entire world. It's not as fast as a plane, but it's it's much faster than trying to climb a mountain. Right? You can just zigzag up in the air. Shit like that. You also get a wingsuit, which you can then outfit with a rocket pack, which you can then outfit with homing missiles and a machine gun with unlimited ammo.
Oh my god.
Thus
You can-
becoming an actual human fighter jet.
Human fighter jet. It is
Get any better?
so much fun.
You can literally dogfight fighter jets in a wingsuit with
Yes.
homing missiles.
You can.
I don't know. 675
Yes.
sounds a little steep for that.
You can. There are gazillions. There are gazillions of side quests. The main story, I couldn't tell you what it was about. You depose a dictator. Who gives a fuck? Blow things up. The acting is terrible. The story is dog shit. None of it matters. I'm here to be a human fighter jet.
Well, they have it in Portuguese, so I'm sold.
That's the selling point.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's
Like, too
bright.
much-
It's colorful. It's beautiful. It's loud, obnoxious, and doesn't give a shit about your opinion, and I love it so much.
Brash and bold. I picked up the first 2 entries to this series on another sale before. I haven't picked them up at all because I know it's going to be like, game over, man. Everything else is fucking done for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
This looks pretty amazing.
3,
It's a lot of fun.
3 was a lot of fun, and the DLCs were good too. Like decently long side missions with really cool like perks and new vehicles and weapons you unlock. I will say, spoiler alert, the final boss is kind of stupid. It's not that significant of a fight. You fight a dude in a helicopter, and the only difference between it and the 3,000 other helicopters you've already eaten for breakfast is that it takes longer to take down. Other than that, holy fuck, is it a fun game. 2 was fun too. I think the final confrontation involves riding a nuclear missile and fighting the head honcho atop it in flight.
As you do.
Yes.
All right, well, let's see if we have any other contenders this week.
I'm telling you right now, it's my recommendation.
I saw a contender. Probably not a winner, but a contender.
Oh boy, Yakuza fucking 0. Oh no. Can we open up the Yakuza? Holy shit. Okay. Full disclosure, I've never played a single game in this series. However, I have watched a number of different playthroughs on Two Best Friends. It is
Hype.
yeah, it's like the campiest Japanese.
It's like a movie, essentially.
Yeah, it's like a movie gangster. If you're unfamiliar with Yakuza, that's like the Japanese mafia, right? But these guys, they're all like, it's
so over
they're
the top.
super buff, like mafia lackeys who run around Japan fighting everybody.
And anyone.
Like, you come out and a drunk will be like, hey, I'm gonna fight you, and you're like, okay. And then like, you don't just like fight them, you do the coolest roundhouse spinning super jump backflip kicks with like lights and heat meter. You like get super hype, and then you can do crazy finishers, and these finishers are include but are not limited to smashing a bike over their head, throwing them to the ground, and full-on soccer kicking their teeth out, and then the guy's like, oh, and gets back up, and he might fight you. Like, you fight 8 guys at once. It is filled with your favorite Japanese storytelling style, over-the-top drama. Tons of betrayal from the guy who raised you as a child. Tons of backstabbing from, the organization super elite, and you have to go against authority, which is super not Japanese thing to do. I understand from the stories I consume.
I think the most telling thing is that I saw you get to karaoke J-pop.
Yes, you do. And I think there's also a dance sequence.
Also, there's sometimes guns.
Can you also get into what Mr. Money or whatever his name is?
There are also sometimes guns which are scary, but then you tank them and you punch the other person. There is dancing. You go into a bar and you're like, I'm going to dance, and then they made a whole game of just dancing.
Hang on,
Like
you
a
can play
mini game?
darts and do bowling. This is Japanese Grand Theft Auto.
And pachinko and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah,
hey Nico, it's your cousin Roman.
All right, so
Want
there's
to
a
go
guy.
bowling?
There's a guy. He exists between towns and between games, I believe. He's called like Mr. Shakedown. It's just
Yep.
this huge dumbo who's like, I need to eat food. I'm taking your money, and you fight him. He's like a mini boss, and he thumps your ass, and you lose half your money. You're like, oh no. And then you're walking around the street, and you can see him from all the way down the block. Mr. Shakedown coming for you. And then when you finally beat his ass 4 times, he like learned a lesson or something. But it's so ridiculous, so dramatic. It does that transition between super serious, dramatic storytelling to over the top, campy, goofy bullshit that I've only seen so perfectly done in things that I've consumed out of Japan.
Anime.
Anime. It's amazing.
100%.
It is amazing. $13.39. Let me tell you, it's worth that money. I mean, it's worth the full price game. It is tremendous. But I think they're all really, really good. You can start with Japanese Zero, Yakuza 0, which I think might be the 6th installment, or you go all the way back to the beginning, and all the stories tie together somehow. It's so ridiculous. Really a great
Solid
series.
contender in a strong field of contenders. We talked about. Oh, come on.
We don't need to get into Dead by Daylight. We talked about that before. It's under $10.
Or Bayonetta. We've talked about that before.
Still $680, $679 for Bayonetta.
I mean, if there wasn't Just Cause 3
Contender?
in here, Bayonetta would be a contender. If Bayonetta and Just Cause 3 weren't here, Dead by Daylight would be a contender for $10. But they're both really strong entries.
The Watch Dogs franchise.
Has anybody in the room played Watch Dogs?
Nope.
No.
I've only ever
played a
heard
little
really
bit of
good
it.
things.
It is a pretty good game. Look, if you think you're a super cool hacker and you like to walk around with a bandana and a flat brim hat and sunglasses, like the picture on that, if you think like that's what you want to be and you're like super cool, you're gonna love this game because it is so like tech punk
So the first game is just under $10. The second game is just under 20.
2014
Not
games
bad.
for
They do
$10?
both have some pretty cool. Do you ever see Person of Interest to the TV show?
No.
Okay, then I'll skip that. I'm gonna tell people that you play a hacker who hacks for good to save people against the terrible government.
The Fire Nation.
Yeah. And you're super cool and you're super counterculture. And, if you like that, then if you're sitting here currently listening to this podcast, I feel sorry for you. No. And you're, wearing exactly what the guy on the front picture of the game console thing, whatever. What's the thing called?
Like the
Doesn't
cover?
Doesn't matter.
The cover.
Move on.
I'm sorry. You're gonna like this game. It's got that attitude to it.
All right, we're not going to click into it, but Kingdom Come, I've read a little bit about this. I think it's another one of those medieval, timey, it's supposed to be better combat mechanics.
It's supposed to have some kind of like innovative combat system.
Yeah.
I've seen mixed results in its
Right.
actual innovation.
I've read that.
Also, $36. Is that
I read that if once you figure out some sort of counter, the game pretty much breaks, which is sort of the downfall of these
the
games.
Assassin's Creed problem from the sound of it.
40% off at $36. I'll wait. We got Assetto Corsa. I think we went over this one time. Nobody in here really has enough information on racing games to recommend it or not. It's over $11, so
City Skylines, the SimCity competitor. I've heard really good things that it's much better than the actual new SimCity that came out like 2 years ago. It's only $7.50. Solid competitor. Don't think it's going to be enough to tackle Just Cause 3 for $1 less. But it's a good game.
yeah. Street Fighter 5.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
really?
nobody in the room plays the Street Fighter series.
Yeah, no, $10, 2016, mixed reviews. It's
If you want a fighter, this is it. I mean, it's got some really good content, good characters from what I've read.
It's just the latest installment of this franchise. It's been around for a gazillion years and classic. Still being given modern reboots. Looks really cool for what it is. Like nicely stylized. It's like cartoony but realistic at the same time. So I think it's a nice middle ground there.
It's just one of those things that I knew if I started to play, I'd want to get good. And there are people who've been playing this series for like 100 years.
Yeah.
It just discourages me so.
For all my love of games like Devil May Cry, I don't think I've ever managed to get anywhere close to good at such a fighting game. Rise of the Tomb Raider has been on a recent Steam sale at least once on one of these episodes.
How much is it?
$15.
I've talked about this game, about how I picked it up on Xbox Game Pass recently. No point in buying it if you have Xbox Game Pass because it's there
Play
for free. Awesome game. Can't recommend it because Game Pass.
Right.
I think 15 is owning this game and having got thankfully I got it as a gift when it was much more expensive and not on sale. But having played most of it, $15 is a good value.
Yeah, I agree. You'll definitely play this game for more than 15 hours.
Absolutely.
The campaign alone seems to take about 30 to 35.
That's pretty surprising for these kind of action.
Yeah, no,
games.
it's a very solid campaign. There's lots to do. It's more involved than you would think.
There's also open world exploration, crafting, but it's in like pieces.
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
kind
It's
of
more
progress
involved
through.
than you would think for what game like you would expect to get out of this, but it's very good and you'll be entertained.
Can we check out the Sega Best of Japan? Okay.
Puyo Puyo.
Anybody know what the fuck? Oh, that's some sort of Tetris.
Tetris.
All this.
Oh, apparently the big time Tetris champion just recently last week got decrowned. He'd won. He was supreme Tetris overlord for 6 years, and a
blood doping?
16-year-old.
Oh shit!
16-year-old.
A bunch of Dreamcast games, dude.
16-year-old beat him.
Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi.
Oh my god,
Two great
Crazy
games.
Taxi.
For
Fishing.
$1.20 a pop.
Wow.
Yes, fishing.
If you have never played Crazy Taxi or Jet Set Radio, buy them both.
Classic.
They're $1
Classic
a
Dreamcast.
piece. You're gonna play them for more than an hour.
The Knights. What's the word? Knights into breath.
Skip
Into
it.
Into Dreams.
Making the
Into Dreams.
fonts
I think that's a
read.
pretty good one. It's worth $1.20. This is one of those things you can't. I mean, everything's so cheap you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, if you spend
Here's a bunch of, like,
$2
74
on
cent
two
games.
different games, as opposed to, I don't know, leaving your house to do anything at all, you're gonna save money.
There's some sort of Mickey Mouse game on there.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, shit.
Castle
of Illusion.
Ew.
It's an illusion, Michael. A trick is something a whore does for money.
Or candy.
Okay. What? Yakuza
Yakuza's
Kiwami?
part of this.
I
Bayonetta's
guess
part
it's
of
gonna-
this.
Well, it's
They're
the
the big
best of
two.
Japan, so Yakuza better be part of
Vanquish?
it.
Anyone know anything about Vanquish? It's like a mech game.
Oh, man. I've never heard of a really good mech introduction. Oh, there's a series in here, Valkyria. I guess if you wanted to get into that, that might be on sale. Looks like some sort of anime game. RPG. Yeah.
Shining Resonance refrain.
You know, when they said best of Japan, I thought it was going to be like
Pac-Man.
the best games ever, all from Japan, because they make some dope ass games.
I mean, they headed it with Sega, so these are Sega properties.
Right.
yeah, but where the fuck is Sonic's not even in here?
No.
Sonic.
Although that might be for
This
good reason
is-
because
yeah.
everything after the Genesis was dog shit.
Oh, there's 59 items in the package. We don't need to open it.
No.
Go ahead and pick your way through. You'll find some good shit in there.
It's a developer thing for Sega. Sega.
I think that's it though, right?
Yeah.
Alan
much,
Wake is now on here. It seems to be rotating. $5 for Alan Wake. I've heard good things. I have it. I've never played it. The first one anyway.
I guess it's back. Remember they took it off because of that music licensing?
Well, they just took that song out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could still get the game without it.
Well, the game was gone for a period of time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I remember that. Anyway, recommendations. I'm going Just Cause all the way.
I would say Just Cause as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's crazy cheap, so definitely worth it, I think.
It is a huge AAA title that when did it come out?
2015.
Yeah. Okay. So 3-year-old game at that price point
With all the DLC too.
with all the DLC. It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. If you go into it expecting the story to be no worse than your typical B action movie, honestly, I think it's more of a benefit than a drawback. It's so stupid and so over the top, and the acting is ridiculous, and I love it.
I'd probably go with Just Cause,
Can we
but
go back to the main screen there? I forget. What was there. Sorry, go ahead, G.
kind of want to know what the Tomb Raider game has been on sale for before, just because I am interested.
$20. I think it was the last
But-
thing I remember, like 19.99.
Okay.
Yeah.
15 is a good price point.
Yeah,
it is
just-
worth it. 100% for
I-
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I think if you have Game Pass, which I recommend that you have, you don't need to buy it because you'll play through it. And then if you really want to play it ever again, you can wait another 2 or 3 years when it's on sale for $5.
Right.
My opinion. Right.
No one asked you.
Damn. Can we kick it back one more level? Man, that Watch Dogs is almost enticing, but it's $30 for both, and I'd want to get both. Chris, it's your... I'm sorry.
Oh, Just Cause.
Yeah?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Have you
Just
played
Cause-
3?
I haven't played 3. I played 2, though.
I think I lent you.
You lent me
2.
2, yeah.
2 was also a great game and probably even cheaper right now. We could look it up, but it's not on sale, so fuck it. Great IP.
Yeah.
I can't. You can tell I'm gushing.
It's a great time.
I can't wait for 4 to come out. I just want to blow things up.
Yeah, I think I'm going to complete my Just Cause collection because I have 1 and 2 I got for pennies.
Oh, dude. Get on it.
Um,
Get on it.
I think I might also have to pick up Bayonetta if the first installment is cheap.
This is the first installment. No, it's not. Oh, yeah. It says 2017, but it looks like a re-release of some type.
Perfect. All right.
I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about Bayonetta. I just
That-
haven't played it.
Bayonetta and Just Cause. Getting actiony. All right. One more episode in the books. Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us. Get out there and start gaming. And don't forget to always, never, not, but true, do whatever. Cock 'em, lock 'em, and rock 'em, baby. Boop, 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 boop.
Music
Just
guys.
Cause. Boop, just cause. Boop, just cause. I remixed it. It was good.